right? But well, technically there is weakness. Never even see this. You can get nothing to do with that one, but it's much more complicated. Once a Jew already owns it, there are really very little options. So as long as Brother Ger has not yet taken possession of these items, no problem. There's no point dividing up the estate. However, if Brother Ger already took possession, then it's possible. So that's like, so ultimately, again, what do you see from that? Now, in this case, Brother Ger wants to continue the existence of the idolatry of the GUINNESS, but he's not doing anything active to promote its continued existence, and therefore, again, it's mutter. It's mutter. So what's the problem? What's the case over this Mishnah? This Mishnah is talking about an idol that's made out of gold. It's still valuable. So therefore, again, Brother Ger doesn't actually care if it remains in its whole state or not. Even if it breaks, who cares? It still has value. Which we know says that's fine. That works fine for an idol. How would you explain the case then of GUINNESS? So this is very Hadrianic person. So apparently, Rashi points out that here, Hadrianic earthenware ultimately was very absorbent. Therefore, when you put wine in there, the earthenware absorbs for 1 to 2 degrees, that you can take a shard of that earthenware, put it in water, and reconstitute water. In that case, also, Brother Ger doesn't care if the cask is great or not. It doesn't make a difference, because either way, the value is still retained. To which the Gemara says, one second, even if that's so, even if Brother Ger doesn't care about the fact that it's great, right? But he does care whether or not it's still lost, so he still wants their continued existence. Don't bring a raya to this case. You're bringing a raya, you're bringing up this in the case of the inheritance of the Ger. No, Shani Yerushas Hager, Dakil Barak. Rabbis were makel by the Yerusha. In other words, normally the Gemara says perhaps this case should be problematic. But halacha l'maisa, Chazal were makel by the Yerusha. And as long as the Ger has not yet actively taken possession of the GUINNESS or the idols, he is absolutely committed to work this out with his brother. Right? And so you take this, you take the permitted stuff, I'll take permitted stuff. Even though, yes, he wants to continue to exist. Why? Why would they make up by a Ger? They are afraid that if the Ger has to make a choice between his money, his Yerusha, and religion, he will choose his money and choose his religion. That's not a knock on the Ger. That's a reality from nature. We've seen this before as well. For example, right? It's something like the Chazal said that in certain cases of theft, the thief doesn't always have to return that which he stole. Right? And the victim should not accept back the stolen reward in order to go ahead and facilitate the thief's great if the thief has to return everything he has difficult for people to engage in self-sacrifice and money is necessary. Money is important. And, as much as you say, as long as you have your health, it's true. As long as you have your health, and you can pay your bills. Right? Because if you don't have money, you just things are like in fact, and many people do not stand up to religious challenges. There was a choice between religion and kindness. We're afraid that the Ger, if he has to choose between halacha and ultimately again his Yerusha, he may be tempted to choose his Yerusha. Again, not because of the Ger, because it's human. So if Chazal didn't want to put in that situation, therefore they were makel by a Ger. And you're saying that often these kind of cases, they have a state that is comprised of permitted items, therefore allowed him to keep permitted items if his husband brother all of the permitted items. I know, not the vice versa. Coaches, and that's on when is it so? So you should, in the case of Yerusha, have understand to us. But in the case of a business partnership will be us. So you see from here that Chazal allowed certain things to happen in the context of Yerusha, because they would not have normally allowed to occur in other contexts as well, because you don't want to put the person in this precarious type of situation. Incredible. Other Yosef Karabans. Remember again, all this is the same people Rabbi sitting together. Another question that came up. Ger Tosha now should back for Avodas. So let's say this is very interesting. Can a Ger Tosha go ahead? Let me say just before you go on, just say people Chazal will make what's just see the understand the tremendous misrepresentation. Halacha structured in a way to make us succeed. That a wants us to succeed. And sometimes people have a very skewed view of a very skewed view of halacha. That the Baruch was waiting for us to mess up. Because all waiting for us to mess up so we could levy some type of punishment. That's the thing from the truth. The Rebbe wants our success more than we want our success. Chazal wants our success more than we want our success. And all of the halachas, all of the rules, all of the strictures, and all of the punishments are only there to put us on a path to success. Not that the Baruch understood what we need in order to be successful. Chazal understood what we need in order to be successful. And when they need to relax the standards to make us successful, they do it. They do it. When success is accomplished through relaxing of standards, Chazal did it. No greater advocate in this world. That's in this world than in the next world. In this world, Chazal constantly aiming for success. Okay, double question. Other Yosef Karabans. Ger Tosha, Man Shei Bakalans. What's a very interesting question? Can a Ger Tosha go ahead and abolish or negate idolatry? Remember again, an akum has the ability to negate his avodas zarah, thereby decommissioning it from its status of theological significance. So Ger Tosha, what is a Ger Tosha? Now we're going to see this in the definition of Ger Tosha. Rashi points out here in the top of the daf, Ger Tosha eino ove avodas zarah. Ultimately, again, he doesn't worship idolatry. But again, he's like an apple in everything else except doesn't worship idolatry. That's a big thing. Right? He believes in Hakadosh Baruch Hu. He believes in God. He doesn't worship idolatry. But in every other respect, he's a non-Jew. So does such a person have the ability to decommission idolatry, to make idolatry? Gemara says, on one hand, the Palach Levach and Lord Palach Levach. We say only one who worships idolatry can decommission idolatry. Or do a Kol Name Levach of the Haiban. Or maybe not. Or we say like this: anyone who's what we call a banet. If you're in the parsha of an apple, then you can go ahead and decommission idolatry. And this guy is in the parsha. He's not Jewish. He's not Jewish. So because he's not Jewish, he's in the parsha of an apple. So, but he has the call to go ahead and negate it. The call of the battle goes on. And nothing says, only someone who worships it can negate it. But someone who doesn't worship idolatry cannot negate idolatry. Therefore, the Ger Tosha doesn't have the ability to negate idolatry. Unless it's Mason, or is it? So, went ahead and found idolatry in the marketplace. Found out in the marketplace, what's that? Actual bossy. So what's it saying? Remember again. So let's say, listen to this case. I'm walking in the shop, I'm walking in the marketplace. I see a gold idol sitting there on the ground. If I lift it up, that's how we're not, right? Because they're not acquired it. And once it's been acquired by you, essentially, you can't be decommissioned. So what do? Well, actual bossy. So before I pick it up, over the oven go club and kumuvas. I can call over an apple. Remember, no, so you have to call over an apple and see the apple. And you need to negate this idolatry, decommission it, right? Theological decommission. So go ahead and engage in theological decommission of its own, and then it becomes permitted. However, again, but again, let's take it out. Take possession of it. At that point, it cannot be decommissioned. שאומרו, עובד כוכבם נדעתו עבודס כוכבם שלום ושלחבר. And עובד כוכבם נעקוב to decommission his own avodah zarah or the avodah zarah of his friend, being of God, being she'eno, whether he worships it or he doesn't worship it. Finally, he's My object, my what does it mean? What does it mean that commission of the Sarah? That he worships it or doesn't? If you want to say that both are talking about an akum, then Hainu Shalom Shachari, we already said, we just said before that an akum has the ability to theologically decommission his Avodah Zarah and the Avodah Zarah of his friend. And a lot of the Obesofarim, a lot of the Obesofarim, right? Ultimately, again, of the means for Gertoshav. Oh. So who is able to go ahead and decommission both an actual and a Gertoshav? Shnanga, Gertoshav, Nanirabato. What do you see from here? That a Gertoshav has the ability to be Rabato, ultimately to theologically decommission Avodah Zarah. Incredible. Which Gemara says, no. The only animal part not true. Rather, it could very well be the only person who could decommission Avodah Zarah is an actual idol worshiper. I did the Kamrit. I knew Shalom B'Shafat. We already said that. And then the price is redundant. Because he already said that Akum could go and decommission his Avodah Zarah and his friend's Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says, Reisha, listen to this. Two different cases. Reisha, Zet, Zet, Lepar, Zet, Zet, Lemar. Reisha teaching me like this. If you have two actors, right, and both worship or both worship Marcus. Obviously, again, Akum 1 can negate his idol and his friend's idol, and Akum 2 can negate his idol and his friend's idol. Seifa is the Seifa is teaching something different. Let's see, one Akum who worships Marcus and one who worships Baal Pa'ar. What's the novelty over here? An Akum can worship an idolatry even if he doesn't worship it. So let's say really three halachas we told. Number one, an Akum can negate his own idolatry. Good. Number two, an Akum can negate his friend's idol if they worship the same idolatry. And halacha number three is incredible. So the Gemara says, but again, no riot about a Ger Tosha. Right? So when it comes to a Ger Tosha, we still like because I was going to can a Ger Tosha, which is a Gentile who repudiated idolatry, can he be that level? So that was still the answer. Versus Mason, Ger Tosha, what's a Ger Tosha? Tosha Kibara. So let's say, so now we're getting more definition. What is the definition of a Ger Tosha? So Zed Kosher Kibala B'Knedim of Chayrim Shelo La'avor Avodas Meir says it's any Akum who has accepted upon himself in front of three Chaver. I'm going to go say Chaver being spoken about before. Chaver normally is used about two. So in this context, your question is what it just means that you have a base. Anytime an Akum comes in front of a base idolatry, that's a Ger Tosha. That's a Ger Tosha. Good. That's what I meant. So Sheva Mitzvot. Some say a Ger Tosha is any Gentile who has accepted upon himself the 7 nullified. Don't seem to require the base. That's a Ger Tosha. Sheva Mitzvot B'nei the makes it Ger Tosha. Even only able to go all the crowd Ger Tosha. Naturally satisfies it. They were I love it. What is the definition of a Ger Tosha? The Ger Tosha is someone ultimately again who eats not kosher, who eats the Delos, but he has accepted upon himself the rest of the mitzvahs. Pretty shocking. What's that? Three enough is out there. Definition of the Rabbi Meir, he accepted upon himself in front of the raising not kosher idolatry. Chachamim, he accepted upon himself Shem Yisrael. Achirim, he has accepted upon himself all of the mitzvos except the laws of kosher. He's not kosher. Incredible. And the Rabbi goes on. Miyachad in Exlo, Yain, Let's say the halacha is for a little bit of time. I shouldn't say deposit. You can leave with him wine for a short amount of time, but you can't deposit with him a year. What are we concerned about over here? We're concerned ultimately again that Rashi says Rabbi Yachadin Etzim. Rashi says over here, you saw my Yachadin, so actually you left him no oil. So Rashi came up with the Akiva Lo Pala, Zila Ve'ilo Anova Chakino Maniko Liga Olaf. Who says it's Mana Muat like a Mofash. So ultimately again, you deposit wine with him for a short amount of time. Not for a longer amount of time because we're concerned that they may swap out the juice wine for his own meal. Okay. And this is true even in the city where the majority of the inhabitants are Jews. So as I look at the Gershon Shab, you could leave with him wine for a short amount of time, not for a long time, not to GUINNESS. Why not to GUINNESS? Not because we're concerned that over time, for a longer amount of time, he may switch his wine for the Jews. So for a short amount of time, it's winter, for a longer amount of time, Shmano, Kieno. So the Gemara says, and his oil is like his wine. What is that? Shmano case, and I thought, Shemen, Mika, Avi, Yayin. That's not properly wrong with the oil. Oil can't be into it. It's like, hello. Yeno Kishmano. Interestingly enough, what it means is like this: that halacha l'maisa, that ultimately again is his wine. Excuse me, his wine is like his oil. Just like that, just like his oil is permitted, so to ultimately again is his wine. I look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi Shmano mi hamidiyas ayeno mutavana Kishmano podum shokra Hashem ba'ilachai. Aval b'shtiras. So what does it mean that his oil is like, excuse me, that his wine is like his oil? But the same way that you can get enough from his oil, you can get enough from his wine. You can't drink the wine that you get from himself, but ultimately you can get enough from his wine. The sharp called Davar, ultimately, and for every other thing, already called he is like he's like an apple, which the rest of Shimon Omer, Yeno Yayin Ness. Va'amilei Mutter. Shimon says his wine is like Yayin Nesach, but others say ultimately again that it is Mutter, ultimately again for consensus. So actually pause over here. We'll pick up on the answer. Actually, let's finish. Let's finish this with this. What do you see from there? We see from here that an apple is like an apple. Is like an apple regarding every other matter. Ultimately, again, what does it mean when we say that a Tosha is like an apple for everything else? What does that mean? To which the Gemara says, Lav, Imavato, Avodas Topavim, Ke'avodas Topavim. So doesn't that work? Because listen, we're again, how did this whole thing like a Tosha get started? Got started when we tried to figure out, doesn't get a Tosha have the ability to negate idolatry? If we actually decommission idolatry. So now we just got finished saying that in this respect, a Tosha is unique. But in every other matter, he's like an doesn't that mean that just as an apple can theologically decommission and negate that whole desire, so too can a ger toshav. So too can a ger toshav. To which the Gemara says, no, I'm not going to say no. Litin rishos from about the rishos. No, it actually means something else. It means actually local shots. What does it mean? I was going to say, watch this. Give Samuel. So more. The Shaman Shabbat is we'll say just quickly. If you have multiple homes that open up into a courtyard, you cannot carry from a home into that courtyard from all of the inhabitants of the Chutzner. They join together, and that joint food makes it into the domain of one home. Remember, I hear it. Therefore, you carry from the home into the Chutzner, cross into the home. Now, the halacha is the Jew who did not join into the Chutzner. He viewed his right. Let's say Shabbos started. He forgot to participate. He can wield his rights to the other members of the church. If there is a non-Jewish resident, the halacha is you have to rent his rights. You cannot simply wield his rights, you have to rent his rights from you. Watch this. The Gemara says, Yisomor, Bishara Shabasa Bishara Medata Rishus. Ultimately, again, Tia being so number. Unfortunately, again, is being so who an apostate. So as long as externally, like right in public, at least in public, he keeps Shabbos, and what's not lawful? Medata Rishus. All he needs to do if he didn't participate in the Erev, he just needs to essentially yield his rights to someone else in the show in Medata Rishus. But again, if he publicly violates Shabbos, then essentially like a Christ residence. Rather, you have to rent his rights. Amru, Yisrael, no sin rishos from the rishos, right? Yisrael ultimately again had the ability to go ahead and yield his right, give up his rights, or give over his rights to the other residents. So the Obed Kochagim actually starts. But by Hakum, ultimately you have to rent. You have to rent. So therefore again the Gemara is saying that when we say, so it was just causing the Ketzad, Omer Lo, how does the yield, for example, yield his right to give over his rights to Chatzar? Omer Lo, I hereby give over my rights. Right? I give my rights to the Chatzar. Or Rishusi Mivutelas, or my rights are negated to you. Ultimately, as works for the purposes of the Jewish residents acquire the rights of this non-participatory Jew who didn't participate in the Erev. They try to discuss any form of sources. Just in general about Erev Chateros. Again, you need the participation of all Jewish residents. In general, if you have a Jewish resident who did not participate, even on Shabbos, he could yield his rights, or being the doctor, or just simply negate his ownership rights in the country that allows everyone else to utilize the Chatzar. Even if he's a Yisrael Mumah, as long as publicly he comes across as Jewish, ultimately again he could yield, or he could go ahead and by Hakum, you have to go ahead and acquire his rights. And a Yisrael Mumah, who is publicly a Mumah, is treated like a full circle. Therefore, when we said before that a Ger Tosha ultimately again is treated like an Hakum for all other things means that if you have a Chatzar with a Ger Tosha, and the Jews in the Chatzar want to make it clear that zeros, they must rent the space, they must rent the rights ultimately again of the Ger Tosha. Now, whether or not the Ger Tosha is actually going to be the Hotzara, in their side, we will see tomorrow's class. Shkaya, everyone. What a incredible experience that this is with all of you. We should everyone.
He doesn't have a place to live, so yeah, he's gonna get a little salty in his house. That's good for that. And you get on board in a storage locker. What are they called? Not storage locker. Storage locker. It's called a storage locker.
Because they were just like a great sponsorship TV will tell you all of you this morning begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning's year's thing. Our annual comes to our sponsors. Those are stuff about so dedicated one of Chairman's Russia's this year is exclusive for the sales tables for animals. So, I'm the sponsors for the month of Av. Habali, the Torah Theater, and the raising in honor of their parents, Israel Jay-Z, Gina Jay-Z, Swagger, in memory of family closing. Swagger, and Rahal. All you can learn sponsors, Dr. Eddie Wolf, National Yard State of Dr. Wolf's father, Cyrus Wolf, Shalom, Ben, Steve Hirsch, Rabbi, Nathan, and Ben Adler, in memory of their father, Ben Adler, Robert Baruch, Mordecai, Ben Moreno, the only sponsors for today, Jerry Applebaum, memory of his beloved mother, Torah, all of them, Shalom, the families in the family, all those singing their full shepherd together, all the Torah, Yisrael, the prophets, the nurse, the Shalom, all of our hostages, and once it was that, let us begin. Today's daf is Sanach Dalet 64. A really incredible daf ahead of us today. We are picking up from Sanach Gimel on the base 63b, and we are picking up two Sulat Abinu Bar. So again, Rav Nachman, Kula, Abinu Bar Papi, just like the Kira Bar Amir Dabai. And the Kira Bar Amir is sitting with them. And the Gemara says, Yosef, the Kabbalah, my bride. He asked the following question. Listen to the fascinating Safra Rishba V'Yayin Nesach Ma. What is the halacha if an Achim hires a Jew to smash barrels of yayin. Right? So if that means Achim comes over to Ruben, I'm going to pay you $50 an hour. Do me a favor, smash these barrels of yayin. Mahu, what is the halacha? Is the Jew allowed to receive or to accept the wages from his work? So remember again, in yesterday's daf, we were dealing with the concept of funds or income that is generated from what may or may not be permitted activity, or dealing with items that themselves may be asur b'anos. Here, the Akum is asking me to do something with the INS, but he's asking me to destroy the INS. He's going to pay me for it. So am I allowed to keep those proceeds? The Gemara says, no, what's that about? Me and the people that don't speak to more us. This is very interesting. On one hand, I want the existence of the INS. Now, why do I want the existence of the INS? Because the barrels to break on their own, I would use the opportunity to break them. I have used the INS. So on one hand, interestingly enough, I want the existence of the INS. Because I want it, therefore, then maybe that makes the proceeds worth it. Look at Rashi just a moment. Miyam Teva, 3 lines up from the bottom of Rashi. In Yisrael, there are lots of big Jew actually wants the existence of these barrels. I don't know how to Ruben doesn't want them to break on their own. Actually, Sharebu tells us. So then we say that since the Jew actually wants, and this is interesting to think about it this way, right? The Jew actually wants the Yain Nesach to remain in existence. I don't want it to break on its own. So therefore, maybe that's considered the proceeds from the Yain Nesach, and therefore, again, it's possible. On the other hand, this is the destruction of the Yain Nesach, destruction of the Rizal. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Sure, I want the mouse to remain in existence, but again, ultimately, to destroy the Rizal is considered from the Yain Nesach. The proceeds, ultimately, again, should be considered. Fascinating fact. Hold on now. So Nachman says, Yishpat the Torah Lavlecha. Nachman says, no, take the job, Jew, take the job, get the money, and tell our brother you should be blessed. You have the opportunity to go and read out of Torah. That is a good thing. Take the money and go. So let's see let's bring up proof to this idea. So you see that or not. Ain't Ochu in the object of something for that. Okay, let's say again. In actual plants, right? So wheat had such a distribution. Wheat and let's say for example wheat and grape farms. That's how you so if an overall problem is planting, that means the Jew can't go in a system in the plant. Overall like home, you know, when you can use the system in the dirt, you can't do that. That's not a problem. 6 weeks later, about 4 weeks more than what can I do? I can uproot, right? I can uproot that I am allowed to do Rashi about open Lashita with Ba'afal of the road to be too much like let's say Akim hires me and he says, listen, soldier, do me a favor, I planted for I'm not I am allowed to do that even though I'm going to get paid for working with Kilayim, right? And I want the existence of the Kilayim because if the Kilayim say, well, I'll put it on your own, I use that on my parnassus, but not. What Matthew says, you are allowed to go ahead and benefit financially from a forbidden destruction even though you by definition want to continue the existence of the prohibited item because you want to be the one who destroys it so you can get paid for it as opposed to being destroyed on its own. So much as Savua, second line from the top 64, Savua Amar, you use it in English, but the Hebrews and the Hebrews of Amar, and the kind of the Kilayim law, which is very interesting. We keep a whole thing in general. Not only is there a prohibition for a plant killer, not only is there a prohibition to go ahead and facilitate the but you can't even do anything that's sustainable. For example, last week, for example, over here, now let's say someone else comes with the lion, right? Apple's on the lion, and Apple asks you to put up a fence around the thing. Now, the Akiva says, also, why? Because the act of putting up a fence, by definition, is part of the sustaining of the lion. Even though putting up the fence has nothing to do with the actual planting itself, nevertheless, it is going to be consequential. sign. Here we go. Hamnachish means mechata means bread. I look at you get most respect because again that's time I know because there you're actually being directly participating in this land of family. Keep it keep this after the time. And they keep this even if you do anything to sustain the child. For example, put up the fence around the Kilayim, that's going to be problematic as well. Satcha Kizra Kilayim. Pasuk says, do not plant Kilayim in your field. In the Elazariah, I know the prohibition of planting. How do I know that I'm not even allowed to do something to sustain the actual kilayim? Alright, so let's say so it's interesting over here. The word making a little bit of a play on this. You kind of splicing the concept low kilayim. You can't do anything that ultimately again enables the existence of kilayim, even if it's not directly involved with the actual plant itself. It's just something that sustains it. That's going to be ilu. The Gemara says the ilu the miuter tifla shari. But ultimately, interestingly enough, even according to the Kiva, according to the Kiva, the prohibition ultimately is considered sustains the kilayim. What about if somebody's going to pay me to uproot the kilayim? So the Ashtos, it sounds like that is going to be totally interesting. The Gemara says, not necessarily. Well, it doesn't have to be that thing that this Rabbanon. Rabbanon might hear you open a few human and shackle. No, it's not true. According to Rabbanon, this is Rabbanon. Rabbanon won't put up a fence, right? Rabbanon only can be a kiva. Rabbanon only can be planted or actively do something that is so good for growth of the plant itself. Sometimes I like supporting that activity, or putting a plant as the whole is motor. So putting up a fence is motor, and you can get paid for that, and certainly again you can get paid for uprooting from a scheme that is very interesting. What's the case over here? They call other machines. Oh, interesting. Where ultimately again I am uprooting the kilayim for free. Yaakov asked me to do it, and I'm doing it for free. So what's the problem? Watch this. Rabbi Huda Higa Amar, Litin Lahem Matnastinan Aser. Ultimately, Rabbi Huda is of the opinion that halacha l'maisa you are not allowed to do a favor for us. Like we actually had this in the beginning of halacha. Our ROTHSCHILD is all my quote is what ROTHSCHILD means. Right? Compliment them. You can't do something for an akum for free. Even if the free favor is disrupting the whole Zara, you still can't do it. So which the Gemara says, Rabbi Huda, Nishma Rabbi Akiva, La. Now, the fact that you're saying Huda, Asr, Litin, Matnasina, Aval, Litin, Tifla, Shakra. The Gemara says, no, according to Rabbi Huda says it's true. You can't do a favor, so to give a free good. You can't do a favor for him. But to do something to help you out with Zara, that's absolutely good. That's about objective benefit. I have Rabbi Akiva Nami. Afa Rabbi Akiva. I'm Rabbi Akiva. I'm the kind of line look at. When we take Titzla Shakra, and you say something like Rabbi Akiva. Even though Rabbi Akiva was a more expensive, approach to the prohibition of Kilayim. They're not only can you not plant it, not only can you not see the actual planting itself, but you can't even put up a fence to sustain it. Even Rabbi Akiva would agree to uproot Kilayim, to get rid of Isser, to get rid of prohibited, is absolutely permitted, and you can get paid for that from the to which the Gemara says, there is nothing else to go ahead and discuss. It's great. This phrase is Sulamidi. This is like the Talmudic equivalent of like a mic drop. Sulamidi. That's it. We're done. There's nothing more to discuss. Let's go for so. How did we start this? This all started by the case of an Akum wants to break his barrels of GUINNESS, paying $50 a barrel. Great. Am I allowed to do it or not? So remember, on one hand, you can say no, because therefore, that means I want to retain the existence of the GUINNESS. I'm benefiting from all this up. On the other hand, I'm just trying to hold this up. But nothing said, do it and Chava Allah. If it involves the destruction of a Zara, or for that matter, a prohibited item, even though, yes, I do want the continued existence of the INS until I get there. I don't want it to break on its own. I want to break it. I don't want the provider to go ahead and do these activities, get paid for them, and keep the proceeds, because the destruction of Zara, the destruction of prohibition ultimately is a good thing. It says you get paid, and Tavo Allah. Incredible. I must say, there is it really is such an interesting idea. Because, kind of part of Western society mindset is, live and let live. And that is important. As members of society, just the general approach to living in greater society, we should probably take an approach of living. Yes, that's it's not your obligation to release the world of your nor is it your place to judgment of that. Also lifestyle choices that live that's certainly that has to be our focus on on the other hand, it's also teaching us this idea that evil shouldn't be allowed to take the root within our world. And when there's something that is evil, it has to be. When there's something that is evil, it has to be broken. It's got to go from there's something that is evil, it has to be smashed, it has to be destroyed. Because if you unfortunately become the norm, and sometimes then those lines between good and evil ultimately again become incredibly blurred. That's why the Matthew uses this question of yes, destroy the INS and cover our world to love. Because ridding the world of evil is a bracha. It is a bracha. It's not easy. It's not easy. And it's fraught with incredible challenges. We see this for what we think about. It's such an incredible thing. If you think about what the nation of Israel, what the state of Israel is doing, it's rooting out evil. And somehow you would think that like the world would just line up, applause, right? Just clap. Because we're doing the world's dirty work. And yet again, it's hard because often the world can't see what's evil, what's good, can't see who's wrong. But the Matthew tells us sometimes there is a little let live, and sometimes when Matthew says Yishbar, Yishbar. Sometimes you have to identify evil, you have to break it, you have to smash it, you have to destroy it, and in order to do it, ultimately the process is difficult, the process is brutal, the process is overwhelming. But ultimately when you get to the other side of the process, that's what it's really like. Incredible. Gemara goes like that. Good. Hadr Yasmi, so again the same cover was sitting. And they asked about
so much for the opportunity. First and foremost, I've done my best to follow every single person in the room. I'd appreciate it if you would follow me back. I follow everybody back. I'm the easiest follow back in the game. I'm Rabbi ROTHSCHILD. If you don't know who I am, you will. I stream my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for world peace. I've been doing so for more than 4 years. My streams go back to the pandemic. We've seen the death of a queen, the birth of AI, the coronation of a king, and everything in between. This is a real-life Truman Show, a real-life Big Brother. This is a timeline, and a top 10 is king. And I'm making it true today. I'm king of the internet. This is the biggest event in global history. And here's why. In 2018, The Economist magazine stated that data had overtaken petroleum as Earth's #1 resource, and I have more data archived on the internet than any person ever, which is making me very influential. I'm going viral. And when I do, I want to make you, your friends, your family, all financially independent if you're not already. I want to ensure that you have generational wealth if you don't already, and I want you to be able to start charities and philanthropic organizations of your own. I'm unlike any influencer that you're ever going to meet. I'm not live on one YouTube stream nor 2 YouTube streams. I'm live on over 20 simultaneous YouTube streams, 24 a day. You can view my life in 360 degrees. I even have a ceiling cam. If you want to view my YouTube streams, they're available in the link in my profile. Additionally, they're available in the link in my pinned post. You'll also find in my pinned post a link to my link tree. I dare you to look at my link tree. Nobody dares you to look at their link tree, but I do, because I have more social media than any person ever. I have more content than any person ever. You're over 2,700 people in the community and continue to grow each day. I want to help end world hunger through the use of technology, such as agricultural drones, floating greenhouses, saltwater greenhouses, hydrogen by a cryptocurrency that's worth about $100 million. And one of the things that we do is we build wells and water towers in developing nations for the benefit of the less fortunate. Additionally, I'm an advocate for the Life Straw program and to land and make it drinkable. If you are a reply guy, if you're a Web3 marketer, if you're a raider or a shiller, and you want a DM, I will respond. I want you all to know that I'm here to support you both personally and professionally. I'm here to be a positive person in your lives. I'm here to have an optimistic view on the future. And most importantly, I want to give people hope. And with that, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to share.
Right? I lent Akum $1,000. So what happened? So the Akum went and sold his idol, right? And brought me the proceeds from the sale. Or Yayin Nesach, the same case. I went ahead and I lent Akum $1,000. He sold his Yayin Nesach, and then he brought me the proceeds of the sale. What's that? Local? Mutter. Ultimately, again, it's mutter. Interesting. The Gemara says, now, however, watch this.
You're good, big man. No worries. No worries. It happens all the time.
I'm just going to sell my I'm going to sell my Yayin Nesach and be back with the proceeds. In that case, it's awesome. See, here's interesting. Case number one, same case. I lent Akum $1,000. Case number one, he goes off, sells his idol, goes off, sells his Yayin Nesach. I have no idea what he's doing. Same thing. I lent him $1,000. He says, I want to pay you back. Give me a. Then he comes back with the proceeds are prohibited to me. I affected the amount of my generation, my so what's the distinction? I don't say, what's the distinction? See from the Shum the other way to note it. So this is very interesting. So now this seems to circle back a little bit to the previous slip. But here's the difference. In the second case, where the Akum says, wait here while I sell my idol, or while I go and sell my wine, I want the continued existence of people. I don't want the continued existence of the wine. Because I want to pay. So because I want it, therefore faith is positive the proceeds of us. And there's no second. If you look at it, if you so we just said before, that's what like when you want but I'm not doing anything as part of the existence. So yes, of course, I want to continue the existence of that idol until the idol sells because I want the money. I want to continue the existence of the Yayin Nesach because I want my money. But I'm not doing anything to facilitate the continued existence of these prohibited items. Why should it be awesome? Vatinan, listen to this. Vatinan, Ger Ovikochavim, Shiyarshu Avian Ovikom. So this is a very interesting case. You have two brothers. One converted, and one they're Akum brothers. One converted, and one is still Akum. So brother, their Akum father died. Now they inherit their father, so they want to split the estate. In the estate is idolatry or Yayin Nesach, and let's say permitted idols. So Ger Yochel Lomar Maniperos. So brother Ger could say to brother Akum, I said, brother Akum, you take all the idolatry stuff, you take all the Yayin Nesach, and I'll take the money and the peros. He can do that. The Mishabo, and that's permitted. However, the Mishabo, there's just like you're obviously taking possession of Yayin Nesach or idols. Obviously, once that happens, there's right? But well, there is remember when you've seen this, you can get an apple to be Mebakla of Yisara, but it's much more complicated. Once a Jew already owns it, there are really very limited options that are there. So as long as Brother Ger has not yet taken possession of these items, no problem. There's no problem with dividing up the estate this way. However, if Brother Ger already took possession, that is also. So we'll say, so ultimately, again, what do you see? Halacha l'maisa. Now, in this case, Brother Ger wants the continued existence of the idolatry and of the Yayin Esef, but he's not doing anything active to promote his continued existence.
Folks, look at this. This is
So
really didn't just try to summarize it for you. Motherfuckers must let it.
What's the case over here in this Mishnah? This Mishnah is talking about an idol, let's say, that's made out of gold or silver, which means that what, even if it breaks, it's still valuable. Its whole state, or not, even if it breaks, who cares? It still has value. Which the Gemara says, that's fine. That works fine for an idol. Now, how would you explain the case then of Yayin Nesef? The Cheres Hadraini. So also it's very interesting. Hadrianic earthenware. So apparently, Rashi points out over here, Hadrianic earthenware, all wine in there, the earthenware absorbed the wine to a degree that you could take a shard of that earthenware, put it in water, and reconstitute wine. Really or not, it doesn't make a difference because either way, the value is still retained. To which the Gemara says, but one second, one second, even if that's so, even if Brother Ger doesn't care about the fact that they're going to break, right? But he does care whether or not they get stolen or lost. Yerushas Hager Kamrat, don't bring a raya in this case. You're bringing a raya, you're bringing up in the case of the inheritance of the Ger. No. Shani Yerushas Hager, Dakilu Barabba. Rabbis were makeled by the Yerusha of the Ger. In other words, normally the Gemara says perhaps this case should be problematic. But halacha l'maisa, Chazal were makeled by the Yerusha of the Ger. And as long as the Ger has not yet actively taken possession of the Yayin Nesef or the idols, he's absolutely permitted to work this out with his brother. Right? And so you take this, you take the prohibited stuff, I'll take the permitted stuff, even though, yes, he wants to continue existence. Why? Why were they makeled by a Ger? We are afraid that if the Ger has to make a choice between his money, his Yerusha, and his religion, he will choose his money, he will choose his inheritance. I will say that's not a knock on the Ger. That's a reality of human nature. We've seen this before as well. For example, right? There's something called Takalas Hashem. Chazal said that in certain cases of theft, the thief doesn't always have to return that which he stole, right? And the victim should not accept back the stolen item. Why? In order to go ahead and facilitate the thief's truth. We're afraid if the thief has to return to engage in self-sacrifice when it comes to financial interests. Right? Money is necessary, right? So as long as you have your health, it's true. As long as you have your health, and you're incredibly complicated. And many people could not stand up to religious challenges. There was a choice between religion and money. We're afraid that the Ger, if he has to choose between halacha and ultimately, again, his Yerusha, he may be tempted to choose his Yerusha. Again, not because of the Ger, but makel by a Ger. And we're saying that often in this kind of case, you're going to have an estate that is comprised of permitted items and permitted items. Therefore, allow him to keep the permitted items. Yes. Tanya Menachia advice that supports this. When is this so? Shirshu, in the case of Yerusha. But in the case, let's say, of a business partnership would be Asr. Yerusha, they would not have normally allowed to occur in other contexts as well, because we don't want to put the person in this, we don't want to put the Ger in this precarious type of situation. Incredible. So the mother was like, how do you guys find balance? Remember again, all of this is the same group of Rabbanim sitting together. Another question that came in. Ger Toshav Mao Sheibaka Avodaskach. So this is a very interesting case. Can a Ger Toshav go ahead And I will say, just before we go on, just this idea that Chazal were Neko by the Ger, just so you understand the tremendous mystery of this. Halacha is structured in a way to make us succeed. The Ribono Shel Olam wants us to succeed. Sometimes people have a very skewed view of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a very skewed view of halacha. Again, Chazal are waiting for us to mess up so we can levy some type of punishment or penalty against us. That's a key for from the truth. The Rebbe tells us more than all the halachas, all of the are only here to put us on the path to success, not just to help us do what we need to be successful. It's not only what we need to be successful. And when we need to relax the standards to be successful, accomplish to relax the standards, that's all we do. No greater go ahead and abolish or negate idolatry. Remember, Akku has the ability to negate his avodah, thereby decommissioning it from its status of theological significance. So, Ger Tosha, what is a Ger Tosha? We're going to see this much focus about the definition. Eino Ovid Avodas. Ultimately, again, he doesn't worship idolatry. So, but again, he's like an Akku in everything else except he doesn't worship idolatry. Right? He believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He believes in God. He doesn't worship idolatry. And in every other respect, he's a non-Jew. So does such a person have the ability to decommission idolatry, to negate idolatry? Where it says, on one hand, the Palach without the Lord, we say, "Oh, do what short of a name, the Bible, but I buy you." And then we say like this: anyone who's going to call a bar if you're in the parish of home, then you can go ahead and appreciate home. And this guy is in the parish. It's not Jewish. It's not Jewish. So because he's not Jewish, he's in the parish of an Akko. So because of that, even though Baruch Hashem, he himself doesn't worship idolatry, but he has the koach to go ahead and negate it. Nothing says no, only someone who worships it can negate it. But someone who doesn't have the ability to negate idolatry. Just 1 second. Israel went ahead and found idolatry in the marketplace. Found out in the marketplace. What's up? Actual Basel. So remember it. So let's say, listen to this case. I'm working in the show. I'm working if I lift it up. And what is required by GSS, we can't do that. Omra the Obed Kochalim in the back. I can call over an Akum. Remember now, so you have to call over an Akum and say, Akum. I need you to negate this idolatry. So go ahead and engage with the decommission. However, again, you should also be ain't no only big man about that. But again, do you remember what happened in November 1993? שאמרו, עובד כוכבים מלאך ועבודת כוכבים שלום, שחרים. ועובד כוכבים מלאכון, or the Avodah Zarah of his friend, being Ovda, being She'im Ovda. Whether he worships it or he doesn't worship it. That's going to define what this means. My Ovda or my Ein Ovda. What does it mean equal work? What does it mean that Akum could decommission Avodah Zarah? If you want to say that both are talking about an Akum, then Haynu Shalom V'Shacharim. We already said that. Because you just said before that an Akum has the ability to theologically decommission his Avodah Zarah and the Avodah Zarah of his friend. And the love of the Umay She'im Elav of the Obed. Right? Ultimately, again, of the means an actual Akum. Umay She'im Elav. What does it mean?
I have never been in love with anybody before. I don't even love my parents. Been not in love with me. And you will be in love with me too. My dream first date is go to a restaurant, get me drunk.
Incredible.
You can see if you can keep up.
No.
I do smoke cigarettes, yeah. But I don't care if you smoke cigarettes. The key to a good relationship with me is giving me space. I have a lot of pet peeves, but my biggest one is leaving wet towels on the ground. I don't believe in soulmates. I don't really think all people have souls. I like guys who are scared of me. Let's have fun.
Two different cases. Reisha, Reisha is teaching me like this. If you have two Akums, right, and both worship Baal Pa'ar, or both worship Marcellus, so obviously, again, Akum 1 could negate his idol and his friend's idol, and Akum 2 could negate his idol and his friend's idol. Seifa, Zela Pa'ar, Zela Marcellus. Oh, the Seifa is teaching something different. Seifa is teaching different. Let's say you have one Akum who worships Marcellus and one who worships Baal Pa'ar. What's the novelty over here? An Akum can worship an idolatry even if he doesn't worship idolatry. So let's say, so there are really three halachas we follow. Number one, an Akum can negate his own idolatry. Good. Number two, an Akum can negate his friend's idol if they worship the same idolatry, and how if he worships a different idol. Incredible. So the Gemara says, but again, no raya about a ger toshav, right? So when it comes to a ger toshav, we still act as can a ger toshav, which is a Gentile who repudiated idolatry, can he be mevat level? So now we still have an answer.
You should date me because I'm so far out of your league.
So now we're getting more definition. What is the definition of a ger toshav? Meir says it's any akum who is accepted upon himself in front of three chaverim. Now again, I will say chaver, we spoke about this before. Chaver normally means someone who's careful.
What's up, bitch?
Someone who's careful about
I'm already a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
Anytime an akum comes in front of a
What's up, Elizabeth? Okay, Beth.
He repudiates idolatry. That's a ger toshav. That's a ger toshav. Good. That's right.
Hilarious with a huge cock. Same girl. Except I love everybody.
Every guy I've ever dated has been madly in love with me.
I doubt that, but that's okay. Maybe. You never know.
That's a ger toshav. That makes it
Cool. Heyo.
Neither of these definitions satisfy the definition of ger toshav. What is a ger toshav? I'm the Isu ger toshav. Ze ger ochamuras batorah.
What about a piano bar?
I don't care if you smoke cigarettes.
What is the definition
Okay.
of ger toshav? The ger toshav is one ultimately again who eats not kosher, who eats the list.
What about a piano bar?
The rest of
Okay.
See if you could keep up.
Oh, no doubt, girl. I'll drink you under the table.
I don't care if you smoke cigarettes.
Okay. You like Winston's? That's what the Flintstones smoke.
I have a lot of pet peeves.
He has accepted upon himself all of the mitzvos except all of them.
What about cum towels? Oh, this one's complicated. There could be an animalistic soul, a Jewish soul. Who the fuck knows?
You should date me because I'm so far out of your league.
I should say deposit. You can leave with him wine for a short amount of time, but you can't deposit with him wine for a longer amount of time. Now, what's the reason? What are we concerned about over here? What are we concerned about over here? We're concerned ultimately again that Rashi says Rashi says over here, Yisrael maniach bechanuso ad sheyilech v'yimno yoser mashin kim avei kochot.
I'm already unanimous first time. I'm all over.
Ultimately, I think deposit wine with him for a short amount of time. Not for a
Hilarious
longer
with a
amount
huge
of time.
cock.
We're concerned that they may swap out Jews wine for his own.
Same girl.
Okay.
Except I love everybody.
And this is true even in a city where the majority of the inhabitants are Jews. So let's say Salach Lesa the Ger Toshav, you can leave it for a short amount of time, not for a long time. Again, we're not talking with Yainess or not to Yainess.
I'll drink you under the table.
He's repeating idolatry.
Okay.
Right? But we are concerned that over time, for a longer amount of time, he may
That's what the
switch his wine
Flintstones
for a Jews. So for a short amount of time, it's mutter. For a long amount of time, it's Shmano, Kiyeno.
What about
and his oil is like his wine. What is that?
Oh, this
Shmano
is
tastes like
complicated.
Shemen,
There's
Mika,
an animalistic soul, a Jewish soul. What the fuck
oil
knows?
means Hello,
What's up, man?
Yeno, Kishmano. Interesting enough, rather, what it means is like this. That halacha l'maisa, that ultimately again is
A superstar
wine.
Philly cricket club
His
on the
wine
watcher
is
know
like
about
his
her business.
Just like his oil is permitted to be rich, so to ultimately again is wine.
I love that kind of response. Yeah, it's the best you can do. And you got Sheila Henderson on the bench for us.
The reason you get his oil is like, excuse me, that his wine is like his oil. At the same that you get enough
Serena's great for this
oil
stuff because as soon as she hits the ball, she lets you know what she thinks.
can't
Did you
drink
hear that?
the
I heard it.
wine.
You go say it's it.
But
Right, it's
ultimately
such
you can get
a superstar.
That bitch could have a back
Summer,
of 8.
every other thing. He is like he's like an apple to which the Muslim. Shimon Omer, Yeno Yayin. Yes.
Today.
Va'amilei mutter b'shtia. Shimon says his wine is like Yayin Nesach, but others say ultimately again that it is mutter, ultimately again for consumption. For shtia. So we'll actually pause over here. We'll pick up a Mitzvah Hashem. Actually, let's finish. Tell me else. Let's
And
finish
I've been looking for
Tell
a
me else.
date
What do you
most
see?
of my life.
Tell me
The
else.
last
The
guy
shark
didn't work out.
You see from the
I'm very easy to get along with, and everybody will tell you that, and my neighbors too.
Regarding
I'm looking
every
for in a
man.
man is he able to afford to take me to the things I enjoy? And most of the things I enjoy are free, so that's an easy one. Take me out moonlighting and catch me when I fall because I'm not very good at that. Tell me I'm sexy. I just had makeup that needs to be set. That's true. In my job, I have to be very strict.
So now we just got
Non-personal.
finished saying that in
You
this
do the
respect,
sexy
and
side
your
of me.
touch is unique, but in every other
That's gonna
matter,
work for
it's
me.
like an act.
I could quit my
Doesn't
job
that mean
tomorrow.
it just
I
doesn't
think
act?
I'd be a musician.
Theologically,
I'd be a musician
and
that
you
maybe
that
something like to play
so
ukulele.
you kind of get
Because
those shots.
that's
So you
something
kind of
that
get
you
those
can
shots.
get hired for
Which
anywhere.
everybody says, no, I'm not
I
going
don't
to
smoke
no.
cigarettes, and I
We
couldn't
team
date
shows
anyone who
about
smoked.
those shows.
Throw
No,
that pack
actually,
out the window, lit the cigarette too.
so Muller,
Then you have
Shana
more.
Shabbos,
I'd like to go to France. Je peux
in
français.
If you have multiple homes,
I did take French in
you
high
cannot
school.
carry from a
I've been
home
working
into
on
another
it.
place. Some of the homes
You
that
get me in the right
have
mood.
right? Essentially they join
French.
together,
I
and
can
that
show you
that
that.
that joint food
Damn,
makes it
bitch.
into the domain of one home. Remember, I hear it. And if you carry from the home into the chutzner into the home. Now the halacha is if you have a Jew
Yes,
who
I'm
did
looking
not
for a
join
date.
into the chutzner, he could yield his rights. Let's say Shabbos, he yield his
Yes,
What's
I'm
up,
looking for a
bitch?
date, and
If there is a non-Jewish resident, the halacha is you have to.
yes,
What's
I'm
up,
looking for
woman?
a date, and
You look like you're a reject from the Golden Girls.
His rights from so watch this. The Gemara says, "Yisrael
I didn't work out.
Fuck him.
Neighbors too.
To an apostate. So as long as externally he's not.
Are your neighbors single?
Externally, right? And public he keeps Shabbos. Privately he doesn't keep Shabbos. But at least
I like your outfit.
he just needs to essentially yield his rights to Shabbos and Shabbos. Essentially, if he's like an
Enjoy. Most of the things I enjoy are free, so that's an easy one.
Oh, tight.
We out rollerblading and
You want to have sex in a golf cart on a golf course? Done.
Has the ability to go ahead and
Same, baby.
give over his rights to the other residents.
I eat that shit up.
Ultimately, you have to rent. You have to rent. Therefore, again, the Gemara is saying that when we say, so let's say just let's finish up. Ketzad, Omer Lo, let's say how does a yid, for example?
You like getting titty fucked, ho?
Omer Lo, I hereby give over my rights, right? I bequeath my rights to the chazir to you, or Rishusi Mivutelas, or my rights are negated to you.
Damn, bitch. I bet you love having your ass slapped.
The rights of this non-participatory Jew who didn't participate in the Eruv.
This bitch loves the ukulele. It's amazing, girl.
Jewish resident who did not participate, even on Shabbos.
Maybe in Hawaii. Okay.
Even if he's a Yisrael woman, as long as publicly.
What about if it's a carton?
Ultimately, again, he could yield, or he could go ahead and.
Not just that, he carton. A carton of Doral.
And acquire his rights. And the Yisrael mummer, who is publicly a mummer, is treated like an apple. Full circle, both sides. Therefore, when we said before that.
I bet your wrinkly neck loves to get choked.
It's treated like an apple.
Fancy.
One of the things means.
Ulu vugu she abekwa seswa.
They must rent space. They must rent.
You want a tongue wrestle, girl?
You will see in tomorrow's daf. Shkach everyone. What a daf. What an experience such as this to all of you. And wishing everyone. Good morning, we'll say a great sparkfishing today with all of you this morning. Begin by coming to our sponsor. Dedicating all the Sherman Drushos this year as a schus for the Soros Tovos for Am Yisrael. Come to our sponsors for the month of Av, Haba Alim Tova, Stephen Randy Drazen in honor of their parents, Israel Drazen, Dina Drazen, and Rosenzweig in memory of Stanley Rosenzweig Zikon Racha. Our week of learning sponsors: Dr. Eddie Faith Wolf, Commissioner of the Yard Site. Dr.
Fuck
Wolf's
that.
father, Cyrus Wolf, Shalom Ben Tzvi Hirsch Zikon Racha, Nathan and Beth Adler in memory of their father, Ben Adler, Hachaver Baruch Mordechai Ben Moreno Ravnos. Yomi sponsors for today: Jerry Applebaum, in memory of his beloved mother, Rosalind Applebaum, Rachel. Their families, Inga from all those neighbors, who traveling together, all the ladies, all of our hostages, Shalom and Bukarov, and allow our holy soldiers to be successful with all of our Savior. And also with that, let us begin. Today's daf is Samech Dalet 64. A really incredible daf ahead of us today. We are picking up from Samech Gimel on the base 63b, and we are picking up 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. So again, Rav Nachman Ula Avinu Bar Papi Yasser B'Chia Bar Ami Gabai, and B'Chia Bar Ami was sitting with them. And the Gemara says, "V'yosef v'kabon my bride." He asked the following question from him. Listen to the fascinating aspect of this question. Safra lishbar b'yayin nesach mahu. What is the halacha if an akum hires a Jew to smash
What's good, woman?
barrels of yayin nesach?
Since the Hoover administration,
I'm going to pay you $50 an hour. Do me a favor. Smash these barrels of yayin nesach. Mahu, what is the halacha? Is the Jew allowed to receive and to accept, to keep the wages from this halacha? Well, so remember again, in yesterday's daf, we were dealing with the concept of funds.
you look like Rue McClanahan's stunt double from the Golden Girls.
Or dealing with items that themselves may be asur b'anos. Here,
I bet your neighbors are swingers.
to do something with yayin nesach, but he's asking to keep those.
A motherfucker who's slang stick like it's going out of style. Tight, like a library. How about getting fucked in a golf cart on a golf course, girl?
I would lose the opportunity to break in. I would lose the
Hey, you sexy hoe.
Interesting enough, I want it. Therefore, maybe that makes the.
I bet that wrinkly neck loves to get choked.
Three lines up in the bottom in Rashi. The Yisrael Zerlotze the Kilubon Shachari Osai. Jew actually wants the existence of these barrels.
Baby, you can get it. I bet you love to get spanked.
So do we say that since
Tight.
the Jew actually wants, I don't want it to break on its own. So therefore, maybe that's considered to be proceeds from the yayin nesach, and therefore, again, it's asur. On the other hand, oh Diamal, what are you talking about?
What about candy cigarettes?
This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Sure, I want
Even if it's a carton of Durals?
is a good thing, and therefore the proceeds ultimately again should be fast.
All right, girl.
Oh no, no. So
How about a French university girl?
Says, no, take the job. Jew, take the job. Get the money.
Good job, it was. Says what?
Take the money and go. So let me say
You want a French kiss, baby?
We had sessions just 2 days ago. Wheat and let's say, for example, wheat and grapevines. That's the paradigmatic. So we'll put any forbidden mixture. So if an Obed Bachavim is planting kilayim, I, the Jew, can't go ahead and assist him in the planting. Odra means like hoeing, removing weeds, we'll see covering with dirt. You can't do that. Top of Sanach Dalin, 64a, about what can I do? I can uproot, right? I can uproot kilayim. That I am allowed to do. Look at Rashi. About Ogrin, Lashlichon leibud va'ava gav derotze b'kiyuma shli akum ne'alein at shaknon. Let's say akum hires me and he says, listen, Silver, do me a favor, I planted kilayim. Now, again, the akum,
What's good, woman?
but let's say again, he asks me to uproot it. I am allowed to do that even on your
You look like Rue McClanahan's stunt double from the Golden Girls. I bet your neighbors are swingers. The motherfucker who's slang sick like it's going out of style. Tight. Golf cart on a golf course. Girl.
Ultimately, again, results in
Hey, you
destruction.
sexy hoe.
Even
Hey,
though
baby, eat
you
that
by
shit
definition
up.
want to continue the existence
I
of
bet
the
that wrinkly neck loves to get
because
choked.
you want to be the one who destroys it so you can get paid for it. As opposed to
Baby,
being
you
destroyed.
can get it.
So
I bet you'd love to get
second
spanked.
word from the top smart, I'm a kind of declining look.
Okay.
Keep a hold on it in general.
Maybe in
Not
Hawaii.
only is there a prohibition to plant
What about
not
candy
only is there a
cigarettes?
prohibition to go ahead and facilitate
Even if it's a carton of Durals?
anyone else planted the July,
I'm in a French university girl.
asks me to put up a fence around
Boucher
it.
avec moi.
And the Akiva says, also, Why?
In the
Because
Bible,
the act of putting up a fence
And
by
then
definition is
You
part
want
of
a
the
French kiss, baby?
sustaining of the life. Putting up the fence has nothing to do with the actual plant itself. Nevertheless, it is going to be us.
Take a look right here.
Means reading.
Yeah, the helmet, he flips the ball. He's clearly there, but it doesn't matter. It's going to come back to the spot. Take a look right here.
The planting of planting.
Yeah, the helmet, he flips the ball. He's clearly loses it. But Dobbs ends up coming in right there, but it doesn't matter. It's going to come back to the spot. Take a look right here.
Where does Rabbi Akiva get that from? What's his
Yeah, the helmet, he
Pasuk says, do not plant kilayim in your field. In the Elazareh, I only know the prohibition of
they're just
planting.
gonna find me and they're gonna get me say anything.
Allowed to do something to sustain the actual growth itself. Like even like putting up the fence. Amalomar lo kilayim. I will say so. It's interesting over here. The Gemara is making a little bit of a play on words. A little bit of play on words. So again, the Gemara is actually kind of discussing because like lo kilayim. You can't do anything that ultimately again enables the existence of kilayim, even if it's not directly involved with the actual plant itself, which is something that sustains it. That's going to be asur. Ilu, Gemara says ilu.
My name is Trish, and I'm good at taking care of things, to look for it, to find it. It's one of my gifts. I'm looking for a man with compassion. At the top of the first stage is getting to know you. Fifth grade, I really wanted to play the drums, but my arms aren't strong enough. I don't play all the time now, but I do still like getting my get out your sax. My idea of happiness is, let's say I'm 70 years old and I'm sitting out on a veranda next to a cool glass of lemonade, and my beloved is sitting right next to me, and we're holding hands and we're watching the grandkids play touch football on the lawn. And then I just think to myself, what a legacy.
For free. Yaakov asked me to do it, and I'm doing it for free. So what's the problem? Ultimately,
My name is Trish.
That halacha l'maisa, you are not allowed to do a favor for an apple. Like we actually had this in the beginning of Avodah Zarah, lo sechanim. Zol machlok is what lo sechanim means. Right, doesn't mean don't compliment
My
them.
name is Trish.
Hi, Trish. I like that line on your tit.
Taking care of things, taking care of other
You want to take
people.
care of this
Somehow I
dick?
always know someone's laughing.
You still can't do
It's always the last place you put it, right?
Sounds like according to Rabbi Akiva, so not be permitted.
Are you a librarian?
Passion and integrity.
I think you have librarian-like qualities.
Nothing too over the top on the
true. You can't do a favor, so to give a free gift. You can't do a favor for an hour. But to do something to uproot Avodah Zarah, that's absolutely permitted. That's a good thing. That's a
I bet secretly you're a BDSM queen. Can you play Careless Whisper by George Michael? Oh, we could work on that, girl. You give enough hand jobs, you'll be bench pressing ounces. Yours, friends.
I'm 70 years old.
Okay.
And I'm sitting out on a veranda next to a cool glass of lemonade.
Like a Bartles and James commercial.
My beloved is sitting right next to me.
Oh, I'm right there with you, baby.
This is like the Talmudic. That's it. We're done. There's nothing more to discuss about this. So it's very interesting. Because therefore, what this means is ultimately. Now let's go full circle. How did we start with this? This all started by the case of an Akum wants to break his barrels of GUINNESS. He asks me. He wants to hire me, a Jew, he's willing to pay me $50 a barrel. Right? So am I allowed to do it or not? So remember, on one hand, we could say no, because therefore that means I want the continued existence of the GUINNESS, and I'm benefiting from Avodah Zarah. On the other hand, I'm destroying Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Nachman said, do it, and tava alav lecha. If it involves the destruction of Avodah Zarah, or for that matter, a prohibited item, even though, yes, I do want the continued existence existence of the INS until I get to. I don't want it to break on its own. I want to break it. I don't want the plan to be uprooted on its own. I want to uproot it. But nevertheless, I am permitted to go ahead and do these activities, get paid for them, and keep the proceeds, because the destruction of evil, the destruction of avodah zarah, the destruction of prohibition ultimately is a good thing. And as Rav Nachman says, you get paid and tavo alav bracha. Incredible. I will say it really is such an interesting idea, because kind of like part of Western society, the mindset is like live and let live, and that is important, by the way. As members of society, just as a general approach to living in greater society, we should take an approach of live and let live. Yes, you know what? It's not your obligation to convince the world that you're refusing your ideas, nor is it your
Like in rocking chairs? What about Adirondack chairs?
Choices or everything else. Live and let live. That's to a certain degree, that has to be our approach to living.
What if they're playing flag football?
On the other hand,
I kind of like this fantasy. Let's do it, girl. And then I fished you.
And when there's something that is evil, it has to be uprooted. When there's something that is evil, it has to be broken. When there's something that is evil, it has to be smashed. It has to be destroyed. Because if you let evil take root, then it spreads, and unfortunately become incredibly blurred. And that's what Nachman uses this lesson of. Yes.
What if they're playing flag football? I kind of like this fantasy. And then I fished you.
That is rough. It's not easy. It's not easy. And it's fraught with incredible challenges. We see this for what we think about. Taking care of things, if you think about what the nation of Israel, what the state of Israel is doing, it's rooting out evil. And sometimes you would think that the world would just line up, applause, right? Just clap, because we're doing the world's dirty work. And yet again, it's hard, because often the world can't see what's evil, what's good, can't see who's right and who's wrong. But Rav Nachman tells us sometimes there is a live and let live, and sometimes Rav Nachman says Yishbar v'tava alav bracha. Sometimes you have to identify the evil.
I like that line on your chest. You want to take care of this.
The process is difficult.
It's always the last place you put it, right?
But ultimately, when you get to the start of the process, that's
Are you a librarian?
Yosvi, so again, the same cover was
I've been
saying.
secretly your obedience and queen.
Yosvi, becoming part like.
Can you play Careless Whisper by George Michael? No hand job, you'll be best president.
I know he has nice for $1,000.
Your kids.
No, me. Confess as done at the other week.
Like a Bartles and James commercial. Maybe. Like in rocking chairs? What about Adirondack chairs? What if they're playing flag football?
So I'm not going to say that money does not retain idolatrous identity, but rather that money is just mundane money. Now, why?
Switch the ball. He's clearly loose.
I know with the us made the Rabbi. There were these people who came up with Rabbi. Zilu Zebino Komad, because the suicide is fascinating.
You look like Ruben Sutton from the Golden Girls. I bet your neighbors are swingers.
Rabbi told them,
Motherfucker swing seems like it's going out of style.
sell off all of your idolatry, right? Sell off all of your idolatry, and then you have the cash. After you do that,
How about getting
then
chucked in a golf cart on a golf course, girl?
What's the logic over here?
Hey, you sexy
And Rashi says over here, if you look at Rashi,
Say, baby. Eat that shit up.
look at the Suez Kairu. Hold this Kairu, the Antish Kairu, also the Nikolach and all those Kairu. Because remember, if they convert,
I bet you'd love to get spanked.
then that's idolatry owned by a Jew. Idolatry owned by a Jew, number one, can never be negated. Right? Can never have it identity.
Maybe
It
it's
tells
why.
them instead before, while you're still Gentiles, sell it off.
What about candy?
Have it, then you can convert to the money is permitted. What do you see?
Even if it's a carton of Doral,
Sells his idol, that cash is permitted. So the Gemara says,
how about a
my
French
time,
university girl?
let's go
What's up, bitch? I'm already unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm a
What's up, Elizabeth?
I really
don't know.
Maybe that case is
Hilarious with a huge cock.
I've never been in love with anybody
Obviously,
before. I don't
Same
know
girl.
my parents.
Except I remember
But every guy I've ever dated has been madly in love with
So
me.
an apple can be
You will be in love with me too.
maybe that's why
You never
My
know.
dream test
the home. Let me off.
What about a piano bar?
Misosha and Oshim will be good. Mother.
I
Not for
doubt.
all those folk are there.
Take you under the table.
don't
I
care.
lent
Okay.
Akkum
You
$1,000.
like Guinness?
So what happened?
With
So
me,
Akkum went and sold
That's what
his
the
idol.
Flintstones
Right,
smoke.
and brought me the proceeds from the sale. Or Yainess of the same case, and I went ahead and I lent $1,000.
What about
He sold his
compounds?
Yainess, and then he brought me
Oh, this was
the
complicated.
proceeds of the sale. What's the
There
law?
could be an animalistic
Ultimate
solution.
ever, watch this. About Amrlo hunting at She'en Korabodas Locham Vavilacha. Yayinesach Vavilacha Asr. Let's say the Akum Sim case, so the Akum $1,000, Akum Sim case, so don't pay you. Give me the way here, I'm just going to sell my
I just
In
meet
that
all sorts
case,
of interesting
it's
people
awesome.
every day.
See, here's
I'm really
interesting.
looking
Case
for a
number
guy
one, same
who
case.
is into
I
taking
lent
care of
Akum
himself.
$1,000.
Who's into
Case number
aerobics,
one,
maybe
he goes
go
off,
aerobics
sells his
with
idol,
me.
goes
I
off,
think
sells
it's
his
so
guy, and I
cute
said,
when
I
you see
am ready
couples wearing matching
brings me the
outfits.
proceeds, pays back the
Maybe
debt,
we have matching
mutter.
pajamas.
Case number
Sometimes
two,
I like it when
same
the guys
thing, I
look
lent
at
him
me too,
$1,000, he says, I want to pay back,
because then it
give
makes
me a couple of hours, I got to sell my
so
idol, I got to
too
sell my
nice.
Yainesa,
Sometimes you have to
brings
just
it,
throw
comes
a
back with the
little
proceeds,
sugar in the gas
are
tank and just
prohibited.
say a little something
Ah,
snarky,
effectively,
love to talk on the phone. I will
so what's
call
the
my
distinction?
grandma
I don't
in
say what's the
Texas and we will
difference.
talk
See
for
from
hours.
Shun, but
I'm not
Amulet to
religious,
Lotz,
but
so this is
I
very
like to
so
tell
now this
the
seems to
golden
circle
rule.
back a little bit
If
to the
someone
previous
cheats
circle.
on me,
But here's the difference. In the second
I just can't be
where
responsible
the
for
outcome says,
what I
wait here while I sell
don't
my
want
idol,
to pick out
or
my
while I
gift.
go
I
ahead
want you to pick up
sell
on the
my
hints
wine,
that I'm giving
I
throughout the
want
year
the continued
of the
existence of
things
it.
that
I
I
don't want
like
the
and
continued
that I
existence of the
love,
wine.
and
Why?
that
Because I
I
want to
want to
pay.
wake up
So
on
because
Christmas
I
morning.
want it, therefore, if Sheshes posits, the proceeds are us. Listen one second. The heroes, the Kiyum, Kia Gavni. That's what we just said before. That's
Hi,
what.
my name is
That's what. In other words, I will say, when you want the continued existence of something, but I'm not doing anything to further the existence. So yes, of course, I want the continued existence of that idol until the Akum sells it because I want my money. I want the continued existence of the Yain Nesef because I want my money. But I'm not doing anything to facilitate the continued existence of these prohibited items. Why should it be usher? Vatanan, this is Vatanan, Ger Abi Kochavim, Shiyarshu Avian Ovichom. So this is a very interesting case. You have two brothers. One converted, and one they're both they're Akum brothers. One converted and one is Akum. So brother Ger, brother Akum. So what happens? Their father died. Their Akum father died. Now they inherit their father. So
Have I ever watched this? There's like 1,000 fucking times.
So brother Ger can say brother so Draco, you take all the idolatrous stuff, you take all the yain and I'll take the money and the potatoes. He can do that the Mishabol, and that's permitted. However, the Mishabol is just like the Osman. Obviously, all of this presupposes that the Ger has not yet actively taken possession of yain or items. Obviously, once that happens, there's
Look at this athleticism, folks. Oh, foot, it's wet.
We'll say good morning. It is a graceful fortune to be able to learn with all of you. Begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning. Sure to thank our annual Talmud Torah sponsor, Tosim Mishpacha Eretz Yisrael, for dedicating all the Shuman Drushos this year as a sechus for Besoros Tovos for all of Am Yisrael. Our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Av, Habalin Lotova, Stephen Wendy Drazen, in honor of Israel Drazen, Dina Drazen, Eileen Rosenzweig, and Stanley Rosenzweig, Zichron Lebracha. We got learning sponsors, Dr. Edmund Faith Wolf, in recognition of the yard site of Dr. Wolf's father, Cyrus Wolf, Shalom Ben Tzvi Hirsch, and Nathan and Beth Adler, memory of their father, Ben Adler, Chaver Baruch Mordechai Ben Moreno, Rabnasa, Zichron Lebracha. We have to bring them home to Shalom and Karov and merit for the soldiers miracles work. Give them success. The whole of Massey. And also with that, let us begin. We have an exciting daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Sanach 63, and we are picking up on Sanach base 62b, the Bay Rabbi Yana, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lines up from the bottom. So the Gemara says as follows: the Rabbi Yanai, Yasvi Perishvias Maniyim, Ukarlahu B'Shminis. So very interesting case over here. The members of the household of Rabbi Yanai, what they would do is as follows: they would borrow Shemitah produce from the poor, and then repay them with 8th year produce, non-Shemitah produce on the following year. So if you look at Rashi, Rashi says over here something very interesting. Yasvi Perishvias called in Smanabir. So obviously, again, without getting into all the Shemitah technicalities over here, but halacha l'maisa, you can go ahead and lend or borrow, not common, but lend or borrow Shemitah produce while it's still readily available for everyone. So that's once it's no longer readily available in the field, you really can no longer kind of keep it for yourself. So the idea over here is, so the people of the house of Rabbi Yanai would borrow Shemitah produce from the Aniyim during the Shemitah year. Rashi goes on, a parlo b'shminis, ishtachach ta'achli anunim b'shminis achar abir chaliti perushvias. So what ended up happening again is on year number 8, the people of Rabbi Yanai's household would repay the Aniyim, ultimately again with new produce, 8th year produce. So the Gemara says, "Asu amrli Rabbi Yochanan." So they came and they said, so people mentioned this practice to Rabbi Yochanan. There's something about it, obviously, that bothered people to some degree. So they said something to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Yom Sing Avdin, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Sing Avdin, sorry, just do a couple of Rashis. Yom Sing Avdin, there, Rabbi Yochanan said, the members of the house of Rabbi Yanai are acting totally fine. Rashi says, the Chivim Dahi Shaita, Lo Habu Hanach Be'en. Lo ichlufe hani ba'ani, lav chalipe ninu, v'lo chayle kedusha shvias alai. So remember again, we saw in yesterday's daf already, when you get into an issue of potential commerce with a forbidden item, so sometimes that forbidden identity could evolve upon the previously permitted item. So for example, the concern over here is, if business like one is transacting business with Shemitah produce, then even the 8th year produce should ultimately have Shemitah sanctity, Shemitah prohibition. Rabbi Yochanan said it's not really a problem. Why? Because there's not immediacy, or I should say, there's no immediate reciprocity. Because the produce is being taken during the Shemitah year and only being quote unquote repaid during year 8, because there's no immediate reciprocity, therefore this does not look like you're doing commerce with Shemitah produce, and therefore no Shemitah prohibition devolves upon the 8th year produce. That's the idea over here. Therefore, halacha l'maisa, and therefore, again, Shemitah sanctity will not develop upon the 8th year. So this is very interesting. And this is connected to Esnan Motor. And interestingly enough, a similar case would come up with Esnan Zona. Esnan Zona is the halacha is a person goes to a Zona and he gives her something for her services. Right? Obviously, if he pays her money, or even he gives her an object. That object is called an Esnan Zona, payment for a harlot. and cannot be used for any type of sacrificial purposes. Makes sense. Listen to this. The Sanya, the Gemara says, the corresponding case passes on what's the case. The Sanya, listen to this. Raisa says, no, right, Ruben goes to Rachel, and ultimately, again, he gives her an essence, he gives her a payment, right? But he doesn't have relations with her. Or he has relations with her but doesn't pay her anything. What's the halacha? Esnana mutter. Her harlot's payment ultimately is mutter for sacrificial use. Okay, so obviously it doesn't make sense. I understand. If he gave her, let's say it's permitted for a carbon, why he didn't have relations with her. So if he didn't have relations with her, then ultimately again the lamb is a gift. If it's a gift, there's no restrictions on it. To which the Gemara says, assume, furthermore, the second case, if he had relations with her, but he didn't pay her anything, ultimately he didn't pay her anything. And if he didn't pay her anything, if he didn't pay her anything, then what's the meaning of the statement in Brisa that says that halacha l'maisa, the esnan is mutter? It doesn't make any sense. To which the Gemara says, Allah, God, this is what it means to say. Listen to this. Nasala, the achakach bar. If he gave her, let's say, he gave her the sheep, and then only afterwards, in other words, let me tell you this piece outside. Essentially, the word's going to say it like this. When does something become an esnan is on a harvest payment? When there's transactional immediacy. Pays her, relations, right? Our relations pay her. In other words, when there's immediacy, that's when it's an esnan. If there is a lack of transactional immediacy, then the payment does not take on the status of esnan solo. And what that means practically is that it can be used ultimately, again, let's say, for some type of sacrificial or temple use. So watch this. So most eloquent. Nosala, if he gave her the sheep, the acharkach ba'ala. Now what does it mean, the acharkach ba'ala? Rashi says, achshav ela la'achar zman. He doesn't have relations with her now. Rather, again, sometime later. Now, of course, how exactly do you go ahead and translate immediacy? I think there's some level of common sense. You know, he pays her today and has relations with her 3 hours from now or tomorrow. Again, I'm with her. Ba'ala, the achakach nasala, or for that matter, he has relations with her and then he afterwards pays her, esnana mutter. In both of these cases, ultimately, again, the esnan is going to be mutter. However, nasala, the achakach, so fine. So therefore, both sides, what we're saying is as follows, that essentially, in order for something to be categorized as an esnan zona, that has to be transactional immediacy. Once it's transactional immediacy, in other words, payment relations, then the lamb, the sheep, the payment has the status ultimately again of a harvest payment. Now again, remember, just to keep track of what's going on over here. So remember, the household of Rabbi, they would borrow Shemitah produce from the poor and repay it ultimately again with 8-year produce. People came to the Yochanan because, well, I don't know, maybe it looks like a little bit strange, this practice. You're transacting business with Shemitah produce. Which Rabbi Yochanan said, no, it's fine. Why? Same idea. There's no transactional immediacy. So because of transactional immediacy, we don't view that your produce as an exchange, right? Or as somehow like a payment ultimately again for the 7th-year produce, the Shemitah produce, and then for the 8th-year produce remains totally fine. Now the Gemara questions a little bit this eslan case. So again, let's go through this, right? Let's say he goes ahead and he pays her. Okay, Reuben pays Rachel. He gives her a sheep. I'm just using the sheep because it's the easiest example ultimately again for sacrificial purposes, right? So he pays her a sheep, right? And then let's say he gives her a sheep on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, he has relations with her. So again, based on what we just learned before, that sheep does not have the status of a harvest payment, and therefore is not forbidden for consecrated temple use, right? Because it lacks transactional immediacy. You must understand. But when he does have relations with her, let's say on Wednesday, right? He gave her the sheep on Tuesday. He has relations with her on Wednesday. So why don't we say that when he does have relations with her, top of Samtumo, Lechol Allah Isser Eslam Lemafreya? Obviously, okay, I understand. When he gives you the sheep, it can't be labeled as Eslam Zona because he didn't have relations with her, and there's no immediacy. But when he does have relations with her on Wednesday, then retroactively the designation of the sheep as a harlot's payment should devolve upon the sheep retroactively. And therefore the sheep should be categorized as an Eslan Zona already as of Tuesday. Rabbi Lazar says it's very interesting. What's the case? This is very interesting. What happened? The Zona, right? The Zona got the sheep on Tuesday. She got the sheep on Tuesday. Now, relations didn't happen until Wednesday. So the are saying, but when they have relations on Wednesday, retroactively, the sheep should be categorized as a harlot's payment. Oh, what's the case? She offered it up as a carbon on Tuesday. She offered up as a carbon on Tuesday. A pious harlot, a pious Zona. I will say, you might say to yourself, come on, what a fake. She's a Zona, and she's offering up carbon. I will say, it's important. We've met this many times in the past. So it's important to understand we all live with inconsistencies. And we all live with inherent contradictions. And in certain respects, I'm a tzaddik, and in certain respects, I'm a rasha. And there are things in my life the things that I don't do well or do poorly or don't do at all, Baruch Hashem, don't take away from the things that I do well and that I'm righteous in. Yiddishkeit is not an all or nothing game. You could be righteous in some areas and morally bankrupt in other areas. Now, obviously, that's not the goal, right? The goal is to have a certain level of harmonious spirituality and righteousness in all areas of my life. But most of us are not there. But sometimes we feel hypocritical, or sometimes we feel like a fake because yes, all right, but I'm doing this. You're right, it is hypocritical. It is still contradictory, but welcome to the nature of the human condition. We all live with hypocrisy. We all live with contradictions. Such is the nature of life. But it is important for us not to lose faith in ourselves. That even though the Zona is a Zona, but she also brings kabbalas. You know what? I guarantee you, those kabbalas are reach michal it's a pleasing aroma. Because at the end of the day, no one knows our inner contradictions, our inner struggles more than our Mishpach. And when we still push forward to do good, despite all the things that are broken, sometimes that's the pinnacle of human accomplishment. In any event, so the Zona offered up the covenants. By the time relations occurred, so Yomar says, okay, let's analyze this. Let's unpack this a little bit. What's the case? If he said to the Zona, gives her the lamb on Tuesday and says, this is yours as of today, right? Acquire this as of today, right? Then halacha l'maaseh pshita the sharila, right? The halasa b'shaspia umatana ba'amu b'diyayicha. So then obviously it's mutter for, right? Because she was there because they didn't have relations yet. So essentially he gave her a gift, and therefore she has every right to offer it up. However, the law this is very interesting. But if he did not give her permission to acquire it as of now, right? If he was not explicit and said, if he didn't say to her, this is your animal as of now, as of Tuesday, right? They're scheduled for relations on Wednesday. So what does it mean? If he gives it to her, he gives it to her on Tuesday, okay, we're going to have relations tomorrow. If that's the case, if he doesn't tell her to acquire it, it's not hers. It's not hers. And if it's not hers, how could she offer it up as a carbon? After all, the ish is based on
I'm having a pretty good day.
It says, if a person will consecrate his home, this is talking about his evaluation. Right, to go ahead and consecrate his home.
Just happened a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that's statute of limitations. It's kind of went out on the new year. 3 days. Plenty.
3 days.
By the way, everything doesn't have to be happy. Well, why does everything have to be happy?
I'm having a pretty good day.
You could only be makdish something that is yours, which means in the realm of personal growth, you can make a mistake of and that's not necessarily the right thing to do. You can have one mind, So you don't know what those person's profiles are, what their abilities are. The important shit, you only have to concentrate, or you only can concentrate that which you own. You can't concentrate, it doesn't belong to you. We so often in life we forget that God only expects of us what we're able to do. He doesn't expect that we will see us to do. He doesn't expect that we see us.
It's always great when the mascots and cheerleaders get together.
To take a personalistic inventory about all the spiritual tools that I possess, and then utilize those personalistic beliefs.
It's always great when the mascots and cheerleaders get. Let's face it, nobody does it better than us.
To accomplish spiritual things that are within our power, within our spiritual tools. Incredible. And Domino's was the case.
Tommy?
And Domino's, right? So we didn't give this to the zone.
Freezer, so he's gonna check it out.
Okay. Keep the sheep with you. The schedule for the tomorrow. Right? And just keep it with you until tomorrow. It's different, but if you need the sheep for something comes up, you need the sheep better, or you need a card money, you need to do whatever it is, then Gemara says, "Come here, and I give you the right to acquire this." Fine. So Gemara says, "So there was it as this other." Now again, what's the other? Why we do this? Besides that, it's totally up. It's interesting. The thing is because you remember. This all happened with Rabbi.
Test drive it. Test drive it. And when you carry yourself,
is that something status when
what's the name? Tommy? He's my appraiser, so he's gonna check it out.
So by the way, come up with the shuffle.
Tom Brady's Super Bowl. Tom Brady's Super Bowl.
He is scheduled for Wednesday.
This is Mike Tyson's belt.
She goes in and she's not. She constantly
This is Vince
didn't offer
McMahon
the cover.
from the
She's
World
not
Wrestling
So
Federation.
what's the status of the
Oh my
Given
God.
the Rama,
She's a serious.
Is that a real
Should we do it off after a game?
Iman got
I carry it like this. Of course, the big thing is the view of New York City.
is the equivalent
Now,
of
do
offering.
Live upstairs
Really, the Gemara says
in the
that
penthouse.
verbally
Are you
pledging
going to get down to
something
business
to
when we
that
leave you? Or are you going to get down to politics?
Get down to business. And politics, you know, running a business and at
So
the same
therefore,
time,
you say ultimately again
there's a
that
politician
the
there.
act of going in and not pushing verbally is the equivalent of
And also
offering.
running for office.
Although
So,
Ashton
and
not
days go by, I get more and more into my children to my executives.
offering it up is offering it up, but being it's gone. Again, it's gone.
Tom
Being
Brady's
not ultimately is again, because listen, where the shining is, in the case that she offered it up on Tuesday, by the time the deal occurs, obviously, again, it's gone. It's gone, right? So they can't call the excellent zone because
And in
it
the
is no longer
fourth quarter,
existence.
they retake the lead. San
In this
Francisco
case,
up
over here,
4.
on Tuesday, she's not pushed either. The object is still here. So now the shaila is, does the object become this notion or not? So versus the kid shows Rabbi Eliezer. So what's Rabbi Eliezer? What is Rabbi Eliezer? So going back, this is Rabbi Eliezer on the top of the daf. Right? You must not Rabbi Eliezer, Shekatma Beikli Basa. So remember again, the way Rabbi Eliezer days that he has no zone, right? Is where she went ahead and she offered it, right? She offered it up already by the time the deal occurred. That's the big bus. So that's where she offered it up. It's no longer so low. But for the religious thing with it here, she's not.
Yahweh, por favor,
This actually, this shayla is a mamish shayla of love.
There's a lot going on right now. Not all of it's good. I'm just thankful that George Floyd isn't here to see it. You know, we know the incident happened right near where he was. Right, this ICE incident with the woman and the ICE officer right near where he was. But I just like to think that if George were still with us, Black Girl's laughing. The saying of Black Girl laughs. These guys don't like it. Where are you from again? You're from New York. Yeah. And you're from Minneapolis. Well, welcome to Florida.
Of course, it's not going to be categorized as an zona, but in a case where she just consecrated it, we're not sure. To which the Gemara says, take it. So we're involved. So it's important lesson number one, because we're not finished with Esnan zona yet. What we do understand is that in order for something to be categorized as an Esnan zona, if that order is not followed, either payment and delayed bia, or bia and then payment, ultimately, again, it is now more for payments. Now, and the bia doesn't occur until later on, assuming she has rights in that animal. If she's makdish it, she consecrates it, and so the animal is still in existence at the time of the bia. The next day, what's the stance analyzing for? So we're making a little sense. Second we saw here was, let's say he has relations with her, and then afterwards he pays her. Used for consecrating sacrificial purposes. Or mini, the Gemara is a kasha. I don't understand this. The Gemara says, or mini. Ba'ala bi'achakach nasallah, afilu mikhan ad shalosh shonim esnana asa. But the Rabbi says if a woman has relations with the zona, and then he pays her,
while
even
liberal
3
New
years
Yorkers
later,
were protesting Donald Trump's capture.
All of the bills late. Right, so he pays her late, right? 3 years later, it's still called the harlot's payment, and it'll still be usher. I'm not going to stop. I'm not kissed off. No kasha. So most of that country is just important. Right?
Yeah, so you see it, and I talk about the point of the ball a lot. You see it from the racing. This is kind of like a neutral plane. This is going to push slightly down. When you're throwing into the wind, it has to be neutral. If the point of the ball is up, any wind friction is going to push that ball over the top. So as a quarterback, you don't really like that you throw underneath, because naturally it's going to point the tip of the ball up. You like more of a C or an inverse or reverse C. That's how you kind of control the point of the ball, and then you can kind of just snap it off as you throw it. In these windy conditions, you can't be underneath the ball, because these events are based on a true story.
Versus have relations with me for a sheep. Rashi, they tell us that. How common versus when he identifies
your window down?
is as
No,
if
we're
there's
not.
transactional immediacy.
I'm
When he
not
doesn't
detaining you,
go
Colonel.
ahead and
I'm stopping you for doing 63 miles an hour in a 40 mile an hour zone.
again, there is no transactional.
I need your driver's license, your insurance, and your registration.
I'm about to tell us that. My hobby, I understand.
Yes, I do. It's on my radar, ma'am.
Right? So no,
you may not.
He says, have relations with
227, send me another unit.
He says, have relations with me for this sheep. Now,
Also, I need you doing 72 foot. I need your license, your insurance, and your registration. I need your license, your insurance, and your registration.
Just because he identified the sheep, it doesn't make it hers. In order for it to be hers, what has to happen? The Gemara says, right? Remember, livestock, animals require Mashiach, require taking possession, which the Gemara said, okay, so apparently it's actually interesting that ultimately the din of Mashiach is only a din by Jews. So apparently, again, by a non-Jew, they don't need Mashiach to require. So we're talking about a son who's not Jewish. Alright, so another possibility is Leolam Bezori Israelis. No, it's talking about a Jewish harlot. Ukigon dekoi bechatzer. Or interestingly enough, the sheep is standing in her chatzar. In which case, again, ultimately there's kini chatzar. She acquires it. Less in a second. In the koi bechatzer, ba'ala bi'achakach nasala hakainala. I don't understand. If it's in her chatzar, then she acquires it. In other words, if he had relations with her, and then ultimately, again, then he gave it to her, only then he gave it to her. It's already in her chutzner. She already acquired it. What are we talking about here? The Gemara says, in other words, she acquired it before Piyah. So this is like the paradigmatic case of Eslan Zona, because she's acquiring the sheep even before the Piyah if the sheep is standing in her chutzner. To which the Gemara says, the Shaki and Neheli Apotiki. Very interesting. Now, here's the case. So Reuben comes to Rachel and he says, listen, here, this sheep is an apotiki. Remember again, what is apotiki? Apotiki essentially is like a guarantor for the relations, right? If I don't pay you money, you could take this sheep. So therefore, she doesn't really acquire the sheep initially. She acquires the sheep in the event that there is non-payment. The Amar law, and he says to her, if I pay you, let's say within the next 30 days, good. The ilav, and if not, shakle de esnanif. Take this sheep ultimately again as your harlot payment. Fine. Master Rav Shesha. Rav Shesha says like this. We'll say, so now, again, it's interesting. All of this is really unraveling from the Esnan Zerah case. Watch this. Omer Adam Lechamarav or Apollo. So let's say again, let's say Reuben employs donkey drivers and workers. Okay, so now he's paying them. Now the way ultimately again he's paying them. Now Rashi points out over here, either these workers are non-Jews or they're Amei Haaretz. They're just unlearned Jews. Idolaters are unlearned Jews. They'll see why this is important. And he says to them, right? So what's the halacha? Okay, so actually before we get to this, so he goes and he says to them, I'm paying you, right? And essentially, go use this money to go and purchase for yourself food and drink. Okay, either that's their payment or supplemental wages, whatever it is. He's giving them here, right? Here's money. Go and drink. Go and eat. So we'll say now the Gemara says the Eno Choshesh to do this. Eno Choshesh, he doesn't have to be worried. Some people base 60. And we'll say, and here's what's interesting about this, right? What's the concern here? The Gemara said now because it's an akum, or he has to be concerned. Maybe the akum is going to go by Yayin Nesach, right? Or maybe ultimately again the Amar is going to buy sheep.
Is this your view?
Or my sushi. He doesn't have to be concerned.
Okay.
Why doesn't he have to be concerned? Because essentially, he's giving them the money. He's saying, huge lot. Because he's doing that, essentially, it's not on him. Whatever they do, is supposed to on this. Right. If you look at the end, if you look at Rashi, Mishum Meiser, right? If you look at Rashi, it's actually the last one. The last of the we don't. Ruvain is not the one giving it, right? Which is giving them. It's kind of here. This is for the food. Maybe like 9. Okay, they choose to do it afterwards. Essentially, it's not on Ruvain. It's not on Ruvain. So therefore, again, no liability. Okay, now what? Contrast out the following. Some people they 60 people. He says to the workers, like donkey drivers, go and eat, go and drink, and I'll pay. I'll pick up the tab. Oh, now this is a problem. הביאיהו לוקח האיסור מאכילו, נהשת לסורת נשנה, שאיסור see the difference? If Reuben just says, here's $100 for your food and drinks, whatever they buy,
disaster for the project. Big City Engineers, there's one more piece left called the keystone.
If he is purchasing,
there were thousands of people that showed up to watch this crowning event. And the gap for the keystone was too small, less than a meter. They knew this would happen, but it was still a challenge to deal with. The gap needed to be almost 2.5 meters for the keystone to fit. Part of the problem was the heat from the sun causing the stainless steel to expand. The south leg of the arch received the most sun, so they decided to spread water over the side to cool it down. And as part of the original plan, hydraulic jacks were put in place to move the legs with just enough room to fit the keystone. After a few tense moments, the keystone successfully went in, and the workers were able to weld it in place. The engineers had done their job, and the arch was now complete. The stabilizing trams could be removed, and the arch could now support its own weight. It took the better part of a year to slowly bring the creeper derricks down, cleaning and polishing the stainless steel on the arch. He wanted visitors to be able to get to the top, but he didn't exactly know how that was going to happen. Whatever system they used needed to be able to bring many passengers up, and it couldn't distort the outside of the arch. We want the arch's shape to be unaffected, and have that smooth look all the way up the side. To make things harder, the legs get thinner as we get closer to the top. The tram had to be designed with this in mind. Many industry experts at the time were stunned by this problem. How about we build an elevator? The problem is that an elevator goes straight up and down, and we need something that curves. Okay, how about it? But you need to build several of them, and that gets expensive. The main inspiration for the design actually came from a Ferris wheel. This can move people around quite well, and they're always right side up to be used to transport people up the sides of the arch. Dick Bow, the engineer, that came up with this solution. Instead of individual seats, the design called for enclosed cars for safety. And put all the cars together and use cables to lift them. This tram system needed to be small enough to fit on one side of the arch. This leaves enough room if they were all. Just what up? Also, my name is Chad Kroger. This is my colleague JT. We came to the city of Miami Beach with one purpose in mind: to prove that partying on the yacht boosts as much stoke as we had hypothesized. We believe deep in our cores that letting loose on a boat cures depression.
In my experience, a quick gainer off a tuna tower can make you forget about inflation or automation.
To conduct this experiment, we found a young man on Craigslist, Navi, who self-identifies as awkward and a bit sad. We brought him onto a yacht and hooked him up with a brew. To our surprise, his front not fully peaked. The results of the boating experience. Not surprisingly, after we added beautiful women to the equation, he was stoked. So we would like to go one step further with our proposal. We not only ask that the city provide public yachts to the people, but also hot chicks.
Or hot dudes. Or hot chicks if you're a chick, and that's what's up.
What up, Council? My name is Chad Kroger.
Instead of making a first person of himself, the case of where Ruben says, here's $100, go out and go to the bedroom we're in. When is this so that it's prohibited? The company I'm not keeping in the starting level. When is it prohibited for Ruben to say to work the
You know, you can drink and hold the string in the middle, placed it well centered, made a half turn there. Right, he marked, look at this, guys.
This transaction
Thank you so much, so cute. You're such a baddie. Baddies are my baddies.
Therefore, that lacks transactional immediacy in that case. In other words, nice to go ahead and the two cases saying
Thank you so much, so cute. You're such a baddie. Baddies recognize baddies.
Somebody should even people we don't even if the shopkeeper doesn't extend credit, is the purchaser not still obligated to move on? A person says to his friend, Tein monolaploni, viknu kon bechose lach. So what happens? So right, Ruben goes, all right, I go over to Ruben. Say, Ruben, do me a favor, give him money to Shimon, and all of my property will become encumbered to you. What's that? All of us, so what do you see now? Again, let's even assume that Ruben and I have no previous to something for someone else. And ultimately, again, you're the opportunity that encumbers the transaction immediacy seems to occur right there. And Rabbi, you're right. You're right. At the end of the day, whether the shopkeeper extends credit or doesn't extend credit, even the low miyachid shikedashi. Rashi says, even though miyachid shikedashi, third line most love chamita remove the limits. Since moving will not go ahead and actively set aside one tenth of the since no defined amount of money, right? No specific money has been set aside for that. Therefore, again, that lacks transactional needs because it does ultimately occur. It should be mutter. It should be mutter. So, usually, the most the path left, I mean, the low is. Sorry. Yimar says Elahacha from my conversation. So that's the case ultimately again. So when we make this for that, we should choose. So Yimar says, again, we're going to have to do this. My quotation. To choose this, what do you have to be concerned about over here? That perhaps, again, she yes, sir. I apologize. Ultimately, again, we could be friends. Can I please give you this cash and sir, I apologize. See, I wanted to give him $1,000 and want to take it either. What's the case? The case of each of these weird is that's the money. Okay, so this change.
Hey, bud.
Shaking low.
Hey, bud, we have a conversation, okay?
Hold them shallow and slow.
We can do it outside.
I mean, you
can pay for your meal first.
Changes everything. So the case of the year, ultimately, again, when Bryce says that if Ruben says to his workers, go to the chandli, go to the shopkeeper, eat and drink, whatever
Look, we
you
can
want.
talk about it. Look, I don't want to get you in trouble. I already have your information. You want to just, let's
So
just
there's no
talk about it.
extension of credit.
Get
In other words, he has a
this,
tab, but it's paid for. Now that makes
2
sense.
seconds for what?
Because now that it's paid for already, ultimately,
It looks like you're walking to your car. Look, I already have your license plate and everything, your personal information, okay? Look, he seems like super stockish. It's stockish or meeting a 15-year-old.
Yes. As Kardashian. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, please don't make a big deal or tell anyone. I just don't really need any more attention.
I'm sorry.
And it's just gonna be 2 tickets.
I believe you broke a tie with Peyton Manning for passer rating. Yes, you saw that. From our research department, JJ said he broke Peyton Manning's record, so we let it go. Saying QBR, man. He's up. And then I look back and see JJ get hit, and I was like, what about that? And then I look up, the ball's in the air, Christian tracked it. It
I
was
will pay to
wobbling
some
in
of
the
you guys
wind.
to pay. What should it say?
Christian got the over shoulder, dude. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
You should say go out
think
and
about
eat,
anything
go out
during a
and
play,
eat, and
but I
then
felt like I
I'll
had a lot of
settle
time
up.
to think.
Like I'll
I
settle
believe you
up.
broke a tie with
Again,
Peyton
the
Manning for
because
perfect
again,
passer
we're saying
rating.
that the people here for today. Right, so you left money
Hey
to
man,
shopkeeper.
you're not
Then
gonna
it's a
talk
question of
to me
saying,
like that.
okay, I left you $100. How much should we receive?
I'm just saying.
Right, so you're right. Tony,
All he's asking for, that's all. Then he comes back up here and runs his mouth like that again. It's going to be a problem. You hear me, Edward? All right, brother. Y'all keep moving. If you would like to run
Just need to ride the stop sign down there. That's all. That's all, Edward. That's all. That's all, buddy. We're getting out of here.
That case,
You're off at 9 o'clock. I'll be back, brother. Yeah.
They said, my work is going to come in, let them buy, let them eat, let them drink. Okay? Now you must. Sir, they have access now to workers. That's what it looks like. Stuff will get from today. Oh yeah,
Family business now, homeboy. Get the fuck out. Hey, you don't come to my franchise, ask for a water tub, and then get it covered. That's fucked up. You're fucking the family business now, homeboy. Get the fuck out. Hey, you don't come to my franchise, ask for a water tub, get it covered. That's fucked up.
anyway, coming from his country. Trotzdem sprach er als Israel. Again, keeping publishing drushes this year. So it's novels for all and Israel. Coming from his country for the month. About the Torah, Stephen when the Jason Israel Jason, Human Jason. And Roses is like, and Skinny Roses is like, learning sponsors, Dr. Eddie, Wolf, Nation of the Yardside Park, Dr. Wolf's father, Cyrus Wolf, Tom, and Steve Hirsch, and Lincoln, and that how the memory of her father, and then father and father, Jared, had been married, and also always dedicated on the news.
Street and lost contact and go into heaven.
Success.
He lifts up his foot, shuffles his feet and lost contact and go into heaven. Is this guy rage baby?
I like to imagine that Kevin Patullo spins a wheel before every play to decide whether he's going to call an inside zone, a spacing concept, or four words. Don't get me wrong, the Eagles had more issues on offense than just Patullo, but this unit is so much more talented than a 49ers offense that doesn't even have George Kittle. But Kyle Shanahan got creative and worked with what he had, and seeing this less talented 49ers offense move the ball better than the Eagles unit.
The ref in high school football in Pittsburgh, he needs to be banned.
You can go ahead and let him borrow, not commerce, let him borrow Schmidt to produce while it's still readily available for everyone. So once it's not
I don't know if all those calls are accurate, but whenever he was describing them, I just knew he got it wrong. That's maybe the greatest representation of football in history.
What's up, guys? It's Fred Warner.
Yo, what up? See how you living, pimp? Oh yeah, baby. 100%. 24/7. I've been doing this bad boy since last February. So that's like almost almost an entire year, and it's video. Do you have an iPhone? Oh, dog. Then you can see me. Right? Excellent. Don't I look good? Oh, of course, baby. I'm hot. Yeah. Hey, do you have Discord? Will you please join my Discord G and maybe I can help you? Description, and then I'll wait for you. And if you have any trouble, come back in here and I'll help you. Okay? All right. See you in a second. See. Shout out to C, everybody. C's the man. C's coming to the Discord. Everybody loves C. C's a pimp. C's a space freak. C. Happy. I wish these motherfuckers would listen to me. Yo. Digital X, how you living, pimp? Digital X, come on up. Let's talk. What's good? Shout out to Digital X. Digital X, have you joined my Discord? You need to. You can talk with me 24 hours a day there. Shout out to Digital X, you're amazing. Everybody loves you. Yo, what up, Pam? How are you? How are you? Digital X. I'm sending you a link to my Discord. Join my Discord. You can hear me better in there. I'm live in there too.
Thank you, Ariela. I think passion is actually driven by something. Well, I think since I'm just starting, it's still the passion, but yeah, it's still driven by something, which is what? The money, the money. But yeah, passion is actually very important to whatever you're doing because even if you're like after the money, if the passion is not there, you're just going to like quit after a specific period of time. So anyhow, Sham. I love your sincerity, girl. Not your energy in this house. Yes, of course. So, she said one key thing. She said that passion is driven by something. So something has to feel passion. Yes, something really has to feel passion. But then, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, at least before you see the results, when if you're just starting this passion, if not, if you're not passionate, you just need to give up real quick. Because I'm telling you, as a newbie, it's a whole lot of things. You're trying to grow your account because people are, if you're trying to do a lot of things, if you're a newbie or your account is small, nobody wants to pay attention to you. They feel like your account is small. No stuff like that, shit like that. So people like to, try to grow themselves and connect with people. Is it Rabbi? Rabbi ROTHSCHILD. Do you want to follow your host and you post a space link if you want to come up and speak and chill and promote yourself? Yeah, that's the first things first, okay? We are following that strictly today. And everyone, I see your engagement on my posts, on my videos. Thank you so much. You want to engage more, interact more with Guinness. Guinness is the latest project I'm working with. Guinness is just helping you, like your on-chain activities around and to be protected and more private. More like adding important to glass window and not just exposing yourself like in a glass house, everybody seeing whatever you're doing, you're eating, you're even there is darkness, the lack of kind of blocking the people from outside seeing you and everything you're doing, okay? So yes, that's what this is about. I also appreciate
can also do well to repost this post, drop a comment now. Comments are really going on, guys. Thank you so much. Since it's also a trend, we also like in the individual post and comment, just read it. I made it really simple, so you should read it. It's okay. 2 minutes of time. It's even one thing that you can understand what the project is about. If you don't understand anything. Are you asking me in the comment section what is driving me? It's both passion and money. But like you said, say, you have the right. You see, you should not say, you have to cry. I mean, I said that you say, let's sound it. I just started this bit. Let me just tell you motivation. Why did I join Web3? You know, so I didn't really without knowing it's Web3 actually. All those stuff, Telegram things, stuff like that.
How you living, pimp? I'm about to speak in a space.
I didn't get on tonight.
You didn't get on tonight? Okay, that happens.
Yeah, it's 15 spots. And there was free track. Because there's 15 comedians on, so there's one free track. So there's 30 comedians signing up, 15 people. And there's probably like 8 to 12 people with a random like comedian.
Okay. So, you gonna try next week? Okay, so you're gonna try next week?
No, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Alright, that's cool. Well,
Trying to get spots outside that as well. Trying to get unopened ones outside of that as well.
excellent. Hey, Digital X, how you living, pimp? Digital X, how are you? Digital X, I know you from X. Digital X, can you hear me, big man?
That's not good.
What's wrong, Zoo?
I'm high as fuck.
Okay, what happened? How'd you high as fuck? What up, big man? How are you, Digital X?
I was smoking weed at the comedy club.
Digital X, how are you going? Digital X, can you hear me? Digital X, is your mic working? If it's not, leave and come back. Alright, Zoo, you just gotta keep 10 toes down, baby. Yo, what up, Digital X? Can you hear me, big man? I saw your video, Digital X. I don't know if your microphone doesn't have permissions on Discord. You should be able to speak. Digital X. Okay, that's all right. Digital X. I'll send you a message on X. You're such a nice person. Thank you for coming here. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will send you the advice that I send to everybody about how to increase your social media network and how to get a job. So, just one moment, and you will have it. And if you have questions, you certainly can ask me anything that you want. And I know that your microphone at least. Oh, wait, now I can hear you. Go ahead. That's okay, big man. No worries. I'm sending you a message on X. What I want you to do is read through it. Read it a couple times if you have to. It'll tell you everything that I advise that you do if you want to be successful. And if you have questions, just let me know, and I will answer any questions that you have. Okay, Digital X?
Rabbi, right?
Okay. Absolutely, my friend. Go ahead, Zoot.
Rabbi,
What up, baby?
I just ordered a funniest thing, so it might not be.
You're definitely. That's cool. Yo, J Billions. J Billions, can you hear me, pimp?
You want to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear everything about it.
I just thought the funniest joke.
Okay, what's the joke? What's the joke?
I have a phobia of children, and my friend said, "Do you want help with that?" And I said, "Why the fuck would I want help as a single male adult? I think that's the worst phobia to have."
That joke is absolute dog shit.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. Explain it to me.
I have a phobia of children.
Okay, that means you're afraid of children, okay?
Yeah, but I don't want to get it cured.
Okay, I don't get it. Why?
I don't want to get it cured. If I try and get my phobia of children cured, that makes me look like a pedophile. And I'm good. Having a phobia of children is pretty good. I'm high as fuck.
Yeah, you are. You know, you recognize that you can enjoy children and not be a pedophile, right?
I don't want to be anywhere near children.
Okay, no one's forcing children to be around you. Fortunately, but what I'm saying is, you don't either have to be afraid of children or a pedophile. You can be in the middle. The world is shades of gray.
Rabbi?
Yeah, big dog.
I would say for the last nearly decade, I've tried my best to avoid contacting any child.
Okay, I mean, nobody.
Maybe the last five years.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. It's not a. It's That's good. I mean, you shouldn't want to contact children as an adult. but that doesn't mean you can't be around them and it'd be fine.
I don't want to be in the same room.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think any parents want you in the same. You being a danger to their children, but I don't know if you'd be the best influence on their children. Yo, Meta Evolved, you got in here. Zoot, one moment. I'm talking with this person, Meta Evolved. I've been trying to get in touch with them for a little while. So, Zoot, go be high. And
because you're on the way out high, and I'm just getting unhigh. I've just had a bath. I'm getting fresh. You know, I've had a daycare, but I'm here for a little.
In your neck of the woods.
You know what? Despite all the challenges, I cannot complain. And even with the challenges, I found so many silver linings. I'm turning them into gold. I'm transmuting like a wizard right now.
That's what I like to hear. All right, so you had a very, very interesting story. Tell me about your experience with Freemasons. What happened?
All right, so basically, I want to preface it by saying the same as I said to you. Rabbi, could they see our message that we shared before or not?
Yeah, I did, about your birthday wish, right?
Not something that I was just saying what I preface you asking me a bit about the Mason a bit more specifically is that in my life, I've interacted with both good Masons and bad Masons. I said to Rabbi Rothschild that it's kind of like a painter. Someone can't say, they have one bad painter, now everyone that's a painter is bad. And I think this kind of rhetoric can be the problem that we see in reality. Like, not all Jewish people are Zionists. Not all people that are Islam are going to go and blow a place up. Not all people in America are going to shoot up a school. But because we have these, anyway. The long story short, I've kind of prefaced it with that. So my experience I had, I've got to kind of I'll be careful about how I go about this because I'm not doxxed. The reason I'm not doxxed is because I think I'm going to change the world. These are pretty big things. The short of it that I will say is my mum was single parent family. I'm half caste, my dad's a typical waste man. Had nothing to do with me. My mother raised me. I was very fortunate that, she was my mother and my father. And, fortunately, she actually ended up quite well. So she wasn't, a multi-millionaire, but, she had a right amount of money. She had a few properties. And she bought a couple of them from family friends. Now, these family friends, she'd known them for over, so they were Freemasons. Now, that's not something I'd be like, this guy, the Freemasons, don't do business with them or anything. But, this is just a little context we'll put there. I didn't know that at that point. But the work's done, got all the architects plans and everything like that in place. So I'm just hopping around a little bit at the minute. All architects plans and everything in place. We went on holiday. We went to America, actually. Went there for a couple of months. And when we came back from America, wow. That was obviously a life-changing moment. Just a moment of even coming back to the house. It's disgraceful, bro. I mean, that one human could even do that to another, the position they left the house in. It probably dropped like another over 100,000 probably off the house price. And that's not your only problem. The other two properties that my mother had bought, they were through the family friends that had recommended the builder who, guess what, was also a Freemason to come and do it. Now, again, I'm not saying these guys only did this because they're Freemasons. Because, as I say, many people around the world that do this are not Freemasons. However, what I would say is, it is a known thing that is done. Like, people I saw happen after, that happened to someone else I knew. And what it is, take out the Mason part, just some bad people were left in a situation whether that's through bad building work or whatever it is, And what the eventuality of what actually happened was my mother brought a dispute against this person, the work, right? They kind of tried to persuade her not to, the family did, and everything like that. They tried to guilt trip her. And when it actually came to court, they obviously realised she was going to win the case because architects, plans, everything, you can't really argue with it. Literally, for context for the level guys, the lintels were falling down. They wouldn't meet the council regulations. Like, guys, this work had to be ripped down. There's a custom dwarf wall, about 4-bedroom extension. You couldn't even fit it on the custom dwarf wall. Like, literally, the conservatory would not fit. It was that badly out of line. So it obviously wasn't the right work. But again, because do you see how, I'm not saying anything people did this because they were Masons, but because there are so many Masons in this situation, there's no impartiality in these kind of things. So you then go to court to plead your case, and guess where you're going to court? They've all got the bar. What are most people in court? They're past the bar. They're clever, so they then get inducted to the Masons. So now you've literally got a whole justice system where you've gone to get justice, and they're all friends, whether they're good or bad. As you see, and I'm very fair. I'm not saying they've done this because the Masons are trying to give Masons a bad name. I mean, a lot of Masons do a lot of charity. I believe in me personally. Pardon my language, but I don't give a fuck. As long as you're doing good and you're not doing bad, it's the bad stuff I'm focused on. And let me give you one example. Then I'll be interested to hear what you say. I will land the story on the Bano facts, and I'll give you a bit of it. I don't know if you already know this, guys. I guess you won't really have relevancy. This is UK law. In UK law, you can basically win 99% of a case, and if you lose 1% of it, you're obviously still going to be awarded probably the main bulk of the win, but you can get awarded your opponent's costs. Now, in this scenario, the opponent's costs were like $90,000, which is like what, $140,000 or something. And your own costs were about $100,000. And obviously, you're trying to keep on top of these two properties. And it's a long story short, I'm sure you've got other things to get onto, Rabbi. We were left in a very bad situation. Whether that had anything to do with these guys being Masons or not, I don't know. But it definitely made it a lot easier for them to do that to my mum. And honestly, it was literally, I'm not going to dox where she came from, but it's a very small little village. Not many people out there make anything out of their life. She made something out of her life, and it was completely ripped away from her. Unfortunately, I'm trying to buy her a property eventually and do things for her. She now lives in my old rental house. It was a private rental. I managed to get her a good price, and I can't even, I'm Devin, but because I'm a white hat, I don't take loads of money out of crypto. All the money I work for my life, I've got kids myself. I help her as much as I can, but I'm working towards that battle. But I should in this scenario, she's going to have millions. But unfortunately, some people duped her. And, as we know, all the religions around the world, they all face similar things. There are bad forces in this world, there are good forces. And I'm on the fence with Masons. I see a lot of good they do. I also see a lot of bad. And I'll finish it with saying I'd like to hear your side on this after your take on the third part. My second part, that would be like, if you look at the US presidents of the world, is it something like 54 of them have been Masons? And how would you rate their performance and the stuff they do? There's some American presidents I think are brilliant. On the balance, I wouldn't say the majority of them were better for that, because some of the things they got pushed to do behind it probably weren't the agendas that I want to do. But I'll be very interested to hear what you guys have got to say on that, because you got more insight than me.
Certainly. Okay, well, first and foremost, don't want anything bad to happen to you or your family. And the people who harmed you, I don't know what their background was. They very well could be Masons, but I don't think it's good to paint with a broad brush. And I know you're not. You're open. You're on the fence.
1,000% Masons, you know them.
No. No. I'm not denying that they're Freemasons. What I'm saying is they could just be bad individuals, and let's not forget that.
Oh, that's what I said. Yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly. And I know you said you're 50-50 and you're definitely on the fence about it, and you should know at least some of the statistics that you cited, like 50 some presidents have been Freemasons. But we haven't had 50 presidents. So
okay, allegedly, then I apologize if I misspoke.
No.
I didn't say one.
No.
I know that's a good Mason. He's one of the biggest charity givers I know, bro.
Just one moment. There haven't been 50 presidents, so we've only had 47 different presidents essentially, and 2 of them have won in different terms. So really, it's like
I meant the presidency. So
it's like 45.
So 54, 50 something. How many times? 47.
47. Now, what I can tell you is about 7 of them are publicly acknowledged Freemasons. And so people like Harry Truman, Gerald Ford, these types of people are publicly acknowledged as Freemasons. However, what is done behind closed doors may be different, and there may be some type of honorifics that are given. Certainly, but for instance, Donald Trump isn't publicly known as a Freemason. Joe Biden wasn't publicly known as a Freemason. Barack Obama was not publicly known as a Freemason. George W. Bush was not publicly known as a Freemason. Bill Clinton, not publicly known as a Freemason. George Herbert Walker Bush, not publicly known as a Freemason. Ronald Reagan, not publicly known as a Freemason. Jimmy Carter, not publicly known as a Freemason. But before Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford most certainly was a Freemason. So perhaps there are. I mean, certainly we've had.
My point would be, it could be alleged that I do charity work or this or that, and the people that don't know or haven't seen me in person, they might not know, or they might. But if you then see me in person doing it, or if you learn of information and proof that I am, then you know that. So me and you, Rabbi, we know roughly the numbers. So we don't need to get bogged down in that. It's a question anyway, more than I'm not making a statement. As you see, it's not my politics. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know what, Rabbi, I'd be more interested. The first take I gave you, that was fact, and that, factually, admittedly. So as I said, I separated from it. But what do you think? This is a full question, though. I'm not trying to lead this question. What would you say to someone is a reason that they're going to be more positive or live a more positive life from being a Mason than not?
Oh, excellent question. Okay, so to be a Freemason, at least in the United States, there are some qualifications that you need to have. You need to be freeborn, which many times was used to keep out people who were enslaved. You need to be of good rapport. Generally, it means that you have to have a clean record. You have to be someone who believes in a deity. It doesn't have to be God. It could be just the creator of the universe, whatever you want to believe. But generally, this has been used to keep out people who are atheists. And you can't be a madman. So, at least in the state of California, those are the prerequisites. And you have to be a man who is at least age 18. Aside from that, we welcome all men who are interested in being Freemasons. Now, what does that do? That keeps out a lot of people who maybe have been institutionalized, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. Um, that doesn't necessarily keep everybody out, but it does keep out some people. And some people who have been institutionalized can still be Freemasons, but it's just somewhat of a qualifier to make sure that you're 18 years old and a male. That means you're an adult. There are opportunities that of different types of Freemasonic organizations. One is known as DIMOA for people who are not 18 years old. Having a clean record generally means that someone's going to be an upstanding citizen, and being freeborn generally, they're not enslaved. So those are some things. Also,
Rabbi, sorry to interrupt you, but how, just out of interest, how come it's no women? Or do they have a separate organization?
yeah, excellent question. And this has been fought over a lot, especially with the transgender movement. So traditionally, there's been no women because, from a politics standpoint and a sociological standpoint, when you have women in an organization, people start to date. And when they start to date, what happens when they get married? And then there's a divorce. And then that will tear apart the organization. Essentially, people will take sides in Masonry. Now, what happens when you have someone who is a transgender person? They came in as a male, but then they've changed to being a female. Some states are making these arguments of what they're being considered, but there are female organizations. One's known as the Rite of the Eastern Star. So basically, there is a group that allows for men and women. It's if you want to join, you absolutely can, and you're welcome to, and men are welcome to as well. But for Freemasonry proper, it is a group that is limited to male membership, and really, many of the things see on something like a Netflix documentary or something. There's some. Let's see. I could just say like there's part of the ritual where you are shirtless. So like having a woman there that might cause some issues. Certainly to prove that you are a man and not of a woman. There are other issues though. Just when having a woman in a group of men, you're gonna get guys who want to date her, and then eventually get married. And if there's any kind of bad blood within that relationship, it's going to break up the marriage. It's going to break up the lodge. And so, to avoid these types of confrontations, women are limited to the Rite of the Eastern Star, and generally, the Freemasonic organization has just been men. So, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, you go on, Rabbi. Sorry, I didn't say you finished.
You're okay. And in terms of, you were saying, well, like what makes these guys any better than anybody else? I mean, really, I've seen various state of California, depending on your lodge, you need to have maybe $150 a year or so, depending on the size of your lodge, each year for dues. And then generally, we do a lot of charity work. So sometimes there will be like collections to help people who may be like everything, a lot of things like food drives for places, helping the homeless, helping like youth organizations go to the state finals or things like that, whatever it may be. So there's always somebody who's taking up a collection or be a member. I would say you have to have at least the bare minimum. You could be a blue collar worker. You could be.
We're pretty good on that. Sorry to interrupt you, Rabbi, but I have got to shoot because I've got to get to my kid. Well, I just want to quickly say to Rabbi, one of the reasons I joined in, as I say, you've not seen me around, probably you didn't notice me as much. I'm just getting back in the spaces. Don't worry, I'm not going to show anything. It was actually because, more so from the point of looking at your profile. See, this is the way I look at it, guys. I told you about the negative experience I had with, I allege were Masons, right?
Yeah.
Now, I could have come in here and been all angry, and at one point in my life, I was very angry. Very angry. And when you said, Rabbi, I don't want you to get yourself in trouble, I thought unfortunately in life, I'm actually this. Why, for me personally, I'm more interested in making partnership with people from all groups of life. I don't need to join any of this or that or of anyone, but I still need to. The way I came to conclude, I said to you in the DM, never be corrupted. Because my only wish was that everyone could be happy and everyone could know peace. Because the way my little brain thought, and still does now, is if everyone's peaceful and everyone's happy, to do that, even the people you don't get on with, they need to be happy. So, like right now, I don't really hold any kind of malice towards any Mason. Because as I said to you, they might have particularly Masons. They could have been from a football club like this. So I then go and hate that football club or from this, so I don't see it that way. So I can see it was kind of an olive branch because I looked at your profile, and if you're really about world peace, if Masons are really about world peace, I'm kind of like a little conduit to the other side because I ain't going to lie, guys, I'm probably never going to be a Freemason, but also I'm not out there saying all Freemasons are bad. And honestly, guys, that is a bit of a brand that you guys, especially if people are getting more aware now and all the wokeness around. So if you can actually make some real bridging with people and get some trust, then hopefully it can be good for everyone on this planet. And that's where I'm at. I just want everyone to get on, as long as you're doing charity, you're doing good for your peoples, you guys can kind of do what you want, and everyone else can, as long as it doesn't interfere with the rest of the people. That's what kind of way it is, and we are all, we might be Mason or not Mason or this or that, we're all human, aren't we? We're all on the same planet. We all bleed red. We all got families that we want to be healthy. We want the planet to be healthy for. And the only way, in my opinion, to do that is if we all come together. We bring our skills, we bring our strengths, put our differences behind us. That's the way forward. Whereas right now, I think we're very stuck in the past. Like I say, I could have been stuck on what I experienced before with Mason. Since then, as I say, one of the kindest charity givers that I've met, and he did a lot, or he helped with the Olympics, he helped with the fuel, one of the big things. He's a Mason, and he knows the strengths of Masons. He won't say too much, obviously. We all know the code, and I don't ask too much. That's why I jumped in at you, Rabbi, because I know I'm not best in a Mason. I don't want you guys to give me any knowledge that you would think you're going to initiate or anything. So I'm going to bow out soon. Go see my kids. I hope we can drop in the DMs, Rabbi. I hope we can make this world a better place to go. Because that's my goal,
I'm in agreement with you 100%. You're always welcome, Meta. I look forward to your DMs, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much, guys. I wish you all the best, and hopefully we can really make this work and make a bridge between us,
100%, friend.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Peace. All right, Zoot. So you got high as a kite?
Yeah, and that jerk got talked before. There's a premise there. There's a premise there, but the execution sucked and just made me come off as weird.
Yeah, you're fine, Zoot. And maybe we have different senses.
There was something in my head that made it funnier, and then I told it out loud, and it wasn't so funny.
That's okay. That happens. I get those kind of jokes myself. Let's see if there's anything there. So, you say that you have a phobia of children. By you saying that, that is that alone is are afraid of children without reason. And then for you to say, but I said to a friend of mine that I told them this, and they said, well, why don't we try to counsel you so that you're no longer afraid of children? And then you say, no, absolutely, I don't want that, because if you do that along those lines, but like to a normal ear, it's too black and white. You either love children or you hate children. There's a very large middle ground that you can have, and that's why the joke doesn't necessarily land as well, is because most people are going to think, all right, well, then you could just have normal relationships with children as. So, with that being said, you got really high. Did you get high on a sativa or an indica or a hybrid?
Indica, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I should say. Wait. Indica's flat, right?
Indica is more body buzz. Sativa is more of a mind buzz. Indica makes you tired, and sativa generally not as much.
Is sativa the one that's like green and like it's like got a lot of bugs and it's like rough?
And the sativa generally, they're both green, and they both have like they can both have bugs. It's more about the strain. So what it does to you once it is burned. No big deal though. Not a big deal. Are you ready to lose?
Yeah.
All right, Zoo. I got a feeling that you're gonna play like one game and then you're gonna quit.